All right. Welcome, one and all, to the 2023 Weeklies. This is week 9. Dark Matter Candidate. This is a puzzle submitted to us by our very own Goodbye Galaxy. The
Hello.
metrics. Sorry. The metrics are sum, because it was always going to be sum. And the other one was rate with an area secondary, which I thought was a bit interesting because, I don't know, I remember back to the early days when we were talking about rate with area secondary, and I remember, like, there were people like me and Goodbye Galaxy who were initially quite against the idea, but then, I
I
don't
was
know,
very against it, yeah.
but then I don't know, the way the passing technology kind of improved to the point where the RA abuse no longer was viable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
you
It
kind
have
turns out it's a
area
really fun
infinity
metric.
now.
yeah, now it's just a
It
kick-ass
is.
metric.
The only problem was the jank.
Yeah.
And now
Just
there's no
need a
jank, it's a
computer to be
kick-ass
able to tell jank from not jank.
So, So this is a long process to actually get this puzzle
Yeah,
in
that's
its
right.
final phase. Wait, how did
Yeah,
it
should
start
I talk
about?
about it?
Yeah, no, how did it
Sure,
start?
yeah, let's talk about it.
So I started making this shortly after the tournament ended, and the central idea always stayed the same, which was triplex core with a bunch of bullshit on the sides. And at first it was like
Other bullshit.
anime, like a little snake of anime and salt with the fire core. Then I switched it to be just um, two like rings around it, and I sent that to you, Zorflax, and then you were like, I can't spoil it, but this is very similar to a puzzle I'm working on.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, I'll
the
change it,
eye
no
drops of
problem.
irritation.
Yeah, I had to subtly steer him away from eye drops of irritation
Yeah.
without.
And then I changed.
Even though
It's so
the
funny
end
because
product was also pretty similar. So
exactly.
that's why we
So like
changed it again.
once I finally saw eye drops of irritation, I'm like, oh, geez, like, yeah, I see it. It was so similar because they were both just like, kind of like just dismantling and reassembling puzzles. And yeah,
Except
they
yours
were too
had
similar.
triplex.
So after that, I changed it one more time. You told me there were no medals in the weekly, so I'm like, okay, I can add medals to
Well, yeah,
this.
yeah, a lot of them complaining like, "Where's the medals? Where's the medals? Here you
Yeah.
go, have your medals."
Although I didn't enable what is it, purification. So I don't know
Mhm.
if it's a true metal puzzle, but
You know what would be funny if we, just for week 12, we just dropped a puzzle that's just oops, all medals.
Just
No
change it.
just
medals throughout the
Gravari's wheel.
weeklies. Week 12, oops, all medals.
Just change our minds at the last second.
Yeah, but we already have medals now. This won't be as funny.
So yeah, I know this puzzle's had a pretty long road to get here, especially compared to other weekly
Yeah.
puzzles. But we are here, and I think I don't know the puzzles that go through the most revisions, ones that I don't know because and in my own puzzle designing experience, I'm usually happiest
Oh,
with
yeah.
puzzles that I stare at the most and tinker with the most. And this one went through a lot of tinkering, so I think that talks
Mhm.
to like I don't know, you
The
do.
last the
Sorry.
last tinker that I did was to change the inputs to be single atom, which I think was really good for some because
Mhm.
I love
Because
single
you'll
atom
see.
inputs. So like you can just put them anywhere and you can use them in so many different ways. Um, so yeah,
Meanwhile,
I'm
area main
excited to
does
see how
not like
everybody
single
uses.
atom inputs.
What's that?
Meanwhile, as someone who likes solving area more, I do not like single atom inputs.
Yeah.
There's actually been a bit of a lack of single atom inputs this year. Although, I mean, viscous adhesive obviously is one that comes immediately to mind. But yeah, a lot of like 2, 3 atom inputs, not actually a lot of single atom inputs.
hmm
All right. Um, with that, I think we'll kick things off. We're gonna start with some. There's a lot to talk about with some. Let me get my parser booted, which I probably should have done, but here we are. All right.
Let's go.
Okay.
Some puzzle. what we're starting with, actually.
We're gonna start at 12th, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, let me check. Yeah, where is it? Opus tools. Alright.
Alright. So, starting at 12th place, we will start our journey at 675 some. This is submitted to us by Realliance.
Returning.
Get this one booted up. So, yeah, welcome back. Realliance makes his return to the Weeklies this year. I know they were a very regular submitter last year and only just found out the Weeklies were happening this year. It is good to see their name back in the submission list.
Nice. Is 70 some solve a right solve, or?
I couldn't quite tell, but I'm gonna... yeah, I'm gonna save it for right.
I think it's better to show now. It doesn't seem like one.
Alright, well, I'll do it after this then.
Okay.
It's a lot of pistons for a sum solve, but it is cool. Like, it's making the triplex core first, and then attaching both the silver arms, and then both the copper arms.
So, yeah, I guess it kind of demonstrates the kind of challenges inherent to this puzzle, which is you will be using a lot of area, so you need to figure out how to use your area. One of the core design goals of this puzzle was a sum puzzle where area matters, and that is
Exactly.
Yeah. That was a core design goal all the way throughout the design
pretty
process.
And that was kind of what the triplex core was trying to do, because either you built the core... There's kind of two ways to build it. You either build the core first, or you build the halves first. If you're building the halves first, then you've got to get them over the triplex, wiggling, and that's going to use a lot of area. But building the core first, you also have to, like, rotate it around, so it's like... It's a balancing act of which way you decide to tackle it.
Yeah, it's like, when exactly do you build the core and when do you attach it to other stuff? And do you do that before or after building the core?
Most of the time it's somewhere in between, I assume.
What's up?
Yeah, we'll
Most of
find
the
out.
time you kind of build the core somewhere in between. I don't know, whatever's more convenient, I suppose.
That's usually the heuristic with some. It's just which one feels easier.
Yeah.
Alright. I've been told I should
Yeah,
show... Alright, so I've been told I should show 7 T-Storms solved now instead of right, which I was originally going to do.
Yeah, because it's not min
If it's-
rate, and all
if
the
it's
rate
not
solves are
min-rate-
min rate. Yeah, if it's not min rate, show it.
Alright. Some doesn't tell me the rate, unfortunately, but actually I should be able to glean it from the cycle count. Alright. So we're going to woo back up to 15th real quick. 14th and 13th are both rate solved, so pay no mind to them. But at 15th, at 791, we have 7 T-Storm.
I wonder.
Weirdly aesthetic placement of the copper quicksilver.
I like that tri-bonder just hanging out there in the middle.
It's a convenience tribonder. Actually, all tribonders are convenience tribonders.
A bit unfortunate that the output can't, like, slot in here or something. Just, that would save a lot of area.
You could probably pivot it at the end.
I don't know, it seems like the arm is in the way.
Oh, actually, you could just...
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could probably get it
Or
in
just
somehow.
move forward.
Yeah,
yeah,
if you
forward.
move forward on the
Right
track
now.
here, it outputs. Oh, in fact, that's what
Tinkering.
Leon does.
Yeah. He does, or she does move it forward. So yeah, right there.
I'm not going to physically move it, but I think, yeah. It absolutely would not have mattered, though, which is why I don't want to pay too much mind.
Yeah.
A lot of pistons again, actually. Pretty much it's how the right side operates. It's just full piston. High number of bonders. 2 triplex bonders.
Oh yeah, Biggie points out there's a debonder here,
Oh,
which is a little unusual. But
What's
kind
it
of cool to
for?
like double salt and
oh,
then.
using it as salt. I see.
That is an interesting, actually, tactic. Bond the salts
Unconventional.
together to get them both through the one calcifier and debond.
Mhm.
I wonder what she wondered. I wonder.
Are there notes?
Actually, oh, this was a rate solve. Oh, it said it in the notes.
Oh, this is the right salt? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh.
Ah,
Whoops.
should have trusted my instinct. Well, I'll just read it then.
Well, I guess we can show. I guess, right now, rate salts can just all start with min rate.
17 Storm writes, Prototype 2, I wonder how much lower rate can go. I am not at
see.
theory min, but I am as close as my natural min rate. And then it says PS 28 stab wounds, which is a Detroit Become Human reference. Worth noting. Alright.
Yeah, min rate on this should be fairly easy to calculate since there's not, well, in terms of, how complicated rate puzzles can go. Since there's no pure ejection involved,
Yeah,
so
it's not a real pure ejection monster, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I tried to keep it simple.
Yeah, it's very balanced inputs. You just pull everything as fast as possible. That's rate.
It's part of the reason why I went for rate area rather than rate gold, which it's like if it's a big output, so rate's going to be complicated enough. Rate area, so I didn't want you to have to do complex math.
Okay. All right, we're gonna jump back down to 11th place. Beating Realigns
I think this is a speed solve.
Yeah, beating Realigns by 2 points is username Void's speed solve. So very basic outline of how the puzzle will be solved here.
Username Void is treating this Weeklies as a speed solve tournament.
Username Void is
pretty
practicing for the upcoming speed solve season, which Fender did pretty much confirm.
Nice.
Alright, so, yeah, it's a speed solve, so the thought process would have been very basic. It is kind of nice how the, silver is kind of differentiated from the copper. It's just copper gets grabbed and bonded immediately, and the silver kind of goes on its own journey, and it does a different swing, which actually just projects. And you can solve it in halves, basically. So, I know people were toying with the idea of Sum 4, but I do think Sum 3 was the better play in the end here for this puzzle.
Yeah, I was thinking if I did it Sum 4, then everybody would just build the halves, and I thought with Sum 3, some people would do core first.
Since the emphasis is on area, not on, the other stuff, so better make it a third of the metric.
Yeah, I think Sum 4 would have, homogenized the solves a bit more.
Yeah.
Just because everyone would have, built it in halves and call first, or whatever. Or call last. Alright. Moving on, we're gonna take a absolute plummet here. We jump down to 490.
After the log jam at 675.
Somehow.
Alright. It is Team 42 solve.
Yo.
And we will be zooming right back in.
I assume this is a Genius 42 solve?
This is pretty much all Genius 42. The notes write...
Oh yeah, Biggie confirms.
The notes write this is a starter for some, so...
This is really cool, though, what this big hex arm is doing.
Hex arm go burr.
It's doing pivots and then attaching them from the middle atom. That's pretty sweet.
grabs it at 2 different points, and the pivots end up working out kind of really nicely. Yeah, they just... The pivots... yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, the small hex arm is nice, definitely.
Yeah, I predict we're going to see a lot of hex arms. Well, I know because I've seen the solves. But the question is, like, how do you use your hex arms? Because there's so many different ways you can.
So my...
And even big hex arms, apparently.
My long-standing theory when it comes to some theory, whatever the hell that means, is that single atom regents bring hex arms into the game more than multi-atom regents.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like Goodbye Galaxy's contradicting some theory right up. I think it was
overrated versus overpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Biggie sent a full version of the notes if you want to read it, Zorflax.
Oh, sure, I should get... Oh, is it... Oh, do I have to look somewhere else?
I can read it. So a start for some, 490. Still seems pretty high, although of course some components like the triplex and purifier are required, and it was annoying building extra tracks around the single arms to avoid the rotate after the first 2 prongs are added. Still, maybe some motifs from this can be used. Yeah. It looks pretty cool to me.
We'll see if people use them.
Alright. Time to move on. In 9th place, we dropped down to 400...
Another drop?
It's like 21 points, down to 469. We have
Nice.
Luna.
Our favorite deer girl.
Our favorite deer. The perfect Critelli. Nice. Okay, so compared to the previous solve, we have a more expensive but faster solve here. There's a lot more emphasis used on... No hex arms here, instead a lot more of an emphasis on track use. And translational movement here.
Not a hex arm inside, just arms on tracks enjoying the moment.
Does output nicely. There's only really the one big swing that happens. Alright,
76 is pretty big. I think anything over 70 I would call a big solve.
I like the hex arm. I like the hex track, not the hex arm.
Hex track. Okay, so I'm gonna read you people the notes here. These are some bomb ass
Luna's
notes.
got some good notes.
Yo, Luna note.
Okay. This formulation is a simplified mechanism for creating this substance that places significantly less stress on transmutation/research engines. Rather than forming a metastable center and attaching unstable extremities, we construct stable/low energy halves and put them together. As with our other formulation, all tests match the results reported by Professor Tyne. My in-house analysis shows they produce the same substance, so I am confident that any results drawn from this process should apply to the original result. And I am confident in saying that this is no quote-unquote dark matter. To recap, light is propagated through tiny variations in the length of bonds throughout the luminiferous ether that permeates all matter. These sub-hex jostles pull on ordinary atoms, allowing the transfer of energy. A true dark matter would have no interactions with ether, but direct observation using our research engines shows a strong coupling effect instead. Long ether bonds form across its open structure, reducing interference to below the level measurable by standard equipment. Much of these results have been previously observed in exotic silver compounds. Any further investigation should be made with access to equipment capable of observing ether directly, as rare and expensive as they may be, since extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
I wonder if that's a reference to the bisexual transgender puzzle. exotic silver compounds.
Exotic silver compounds.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Kazian's got some work. If he wants to match that.
Soon
Great
we're gonna have a
writing,
lore
Luna.
metric.
Oh no, the lore metric. Yes, Opus Magnum becomes a writing competition. I'm not used to seeing Luna write in proper punctuation.
My high effort, like, anything I write that's high effort just becomes this, like, I don't know, I have this really weird, like, abstract way of writing shit that, like, deliberately confuses people, so just, like, I don't know. I like the weird surrealness of having that. I don't know, that's just my law. It just, like, confuses people, but I like it.
Meanwhile, my lore is often a two-liner, one-liner, two-liner joke.
Okay, shall we move on?
Yeah, we should move on. Alright.
Oh no.
Coming in at 8...
Biggie,
Oh, what's up?
same Biggie Mac mentioning Mad Master shit puzzle forever when the lore metric. Oh no, not that one.
Fucking hell. Alright, coming in, actually, it's another drop here. We go down to 437, by a new submitter. So welcome to the Weeklies Lure.
Oh yeah. Welcome to the Weeklies.
So, very similar point on the Predator Frontier to Luna's. It's just quicker.
It's just faster.
That should be zoomed out enough.
Also,
Not optimized to fit on screen SMH.
Okay, so we got a two halves approach here. I really like the use of the normal bonders here and how it interacts with the use of the track.
Oh yeah.
It's
It looks
nice-
very smooth.
It's a very smooth movement that you don't really need, like, a lot of steps for. It's really just triplex at the end here.
and the hex arm's only grabbing the Quicksilver.
Yeah, it does this, like, tactical pre-grab here before the salt swings in. And, yeah, it just kind of makes a point of missing the salt so that Arm 2 can just safely calcify and bond it, which I think is nice.
I found Quicksilver, I designed the puzzle, but I found Quicksilver very annoying in this puzzle. Like, trying to get it to not proc, I would always end up with the silver and the Quicksilver on the same arm. Like, it would accidentally get on the same one.
Right, because they have to... There are two different things you need to do with Quicksilver completely, and you can see here part of the... this solves, like, kind of answers that question by just having, that Arm 3 just miss the proc on purpose by, like, tactically grabbing early. But yeah, it's kind of funny because, it's subtle tricks like that that's going to make your, like, Quicksilver use a little easier. So, in terms of where this will compare to future solves, if we put our sum optimizer hat on, the cycle
Get way
count...
cheaper.
Cycle count looks fine, but there's a lot of, there's a lot of arms, a fair amount of track. And as Goodbye Galaxy
I would
said,
be thinking
anything over 70 was considered like one of the larger boys.
Mm-hmm. Nice and fast, though.
It is very fast. This is a solid first crack at the weeklies, though. This is really cool. Thank you very much for submitting it. Alright. Next up, we don't move on to 7th quite yet because we have a host solve to get out of the way. This one is by Haxton.
Is it me? Okay.
No.
You know where you are in the list of my galaxy.
You don't want to come 8th on your own sum puzzle.
I'm just trying to up the tension.
No. From personal experience, if I saw myself at like 8th place on my own sum puzzle, I'd like, I don't know, I'd start try-harding a bit just to bump myself up on the list.
Yeah, you get to see the results come in.
Right, we get to cheat. We get to see how
I
well we
submitted
do.
before I.
Almost like you did for what's its name? Spicy puzzle.
Oh yeah, I was worried I was gonna have to eat a lot of hot sauce, so I'm like, ah shit, let's improve. Oh wait, I'm winning. Fuck yeah.
Damn, I can't believe you cheated.
Alright, so we have Haxton clocking in at 419. So this one is cheaper, slower, and much smaller. Only 44 area. That is small.
Nice.
That's
419.
very small.
Yeah,
I
this
think
looks
that
like
might be the
solve, alright.
smallest solve.
I would not be surprised to hear that one bit. Let me just...
Oh yeah,
And I remember
44,
Haxton
hell.
showing this to me. And
Yes.
the hex arm in this is really cool because the arm 3 pushes the fire atom onto it so that it can make the silver and then input suppress the inputs and just use the same bonder to get everything.
I really
Nice and tidy
like
there.
how it sneaks in that fire atom as soon as the Quicksilver procs, just to kind of replace its spot on the hex arm to maintain that like perfect like double rotate input suppression, so you can kind of like keep bonding two atoms together quite nicely. Very area conscious. The only thing that you could really say about this is that it's slow, but it's kind of deliberately slow.
And it's a core first, which
Core-
which is interesting. We'll see how core first versus halves goes.
Yeah, this is a hexam that I would be proud of coming up with. And I'm a hexam aficionado, so I like to think that says good things about the hexam.
Of course you are. Hexarm is efficient in area and, you know, being decently
Which one
okay
is
at
the
cheat.
limiting arm? Is the hex arm the limiting arm, or
on
is it the
Yeah,
arm 2?
scroll the instructions to the right a bit.
Oh, there's a...
Arm 1 appears to be limiting, although Arm 4 is kind of
arm
close to
one's
limiting.
pretty limiting.
Yeah, only the 4 arms. That's not a particularly
I
high
love-
arm. Sorry.
I love 2 different sized arms on a track loop. That's
Oh,
like
actually,
one of my
yeah.
favorite thumb features.
You have to really earn the 2 different length arms on a track
Yeah.
loop, because they're hard to program and make convenient. You have to do a lot of thinking and messing around and playing around with movement. It's difficult some tech, but it's worthy some tech. Other than that, I don't know. I'm just amused by how well nestled in together all the glyphs are. Like, there isn't a single hex of like wasted space here. It's just all glyph.
Yeah, could you hit 2 for a second just to see
Yeah, look at that.
the area? Yeah, that's tight.
There's a bit of swing space at the top, and that's pretty much it. Other than it being slow, because I don't know, it doesn't really feel like it's a problem that it's slow, but I will say it's not the cheapest solve.
Yeah, it's on the pricier side.
Yeah.
For, yeah. As we get lower, things are going to get cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Alright. We shall saunter on to actual 7th place. We will drop down 1 point to Calyuresis. Okay, so this will be bigger but quicker compared to Haxton's. Pretty much the same cost, though. Very interesting
doing
build order
halves.
here.
Two triplex.
So, some clutch pivoting here by Arm 3 once it gets the 2 coppers bonded to a fire, which is a... And it kind of slaps on both Quicksilver and
That's
the second
cool.
fire on the same cycle. Early candidate for Pivot of the Week. And then it squeezes in that projection right as Arm 3 swings the half over. Doesn't quite collide with anything. It almost... You can see Arm 1... Input here, input there, another arm there, all nestled into that swing. I must say, it is a real shame that 2 triplex bonds were needed here, because if there was just, say, like, if it wasn't a full triplex, it was just, say, the yellow one, this would have been a mighty solve.
Mm-hmm.
Two triplex, but still rotates the output through 120 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, it sucks that the extra triplex doesn't really buy you, like, much area. The triplex pivot is... let's have a look. Okay, so I assume it's when triplex is bonded here. It is actually that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I'll concur with that. It kind of Arm 4's kind of doing well to not be the limiting arm here.
There's a space after, like, Arm 1, 2, and 3 all have that, like, blank space in the middle, but then there's no, like, period override at the end. So something,
So yeah,
I guess, requires the pause in the middle.
yeah, it just kind of the pause in the middle. The three assembly arms pretty much just have to wait for Arm 4 to get that half out of the way.
Right, but then the second time you can get it away quicker with the triplex bond.
Right, yeah, because it's already bonded. So as soon as Arm 3 lets go, you can just swing it away without needing a grab. So it's that grab that really everything has to wait for.
Mm-hmm.
Neat way to get the calcify to work. Yeah, actually, it calcifies in a couple of different ways here. Which is...
Calcifying is actually, like, it's a non-issue in this puzzle. Like, it's so easy, I found. I never had an issue.
Actually, because you're swinging it around a bit.
Finding.
Yeah, there's always, like, you find a hex that both of your salts land on.
There was always some way to do it conveniently. It's just more for aesthetics.
Yeah, the calcifier does have some nice feng shui. I will grant it that.
Although it probably caused the mistake in the initial puzzle reveal. If it was a fire, then.
Oh yeah, that was our fault. That had nothing to do with Goodbye Galaxy. That was
Panic didn't notice it.
We were a little low on time, and Panic didn't notice that there were salts on the end.
We should stop doing these things last minute. Do we have next week prepared? Like next week?
We should just prepare.
Really, it's Zach's fault for not making Salt and Quicksilver different colors.
Yeah, it could have made Quicksilver like a light gray or something.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Also, I can't believe week 12 is coming up. I'm looking forward to having y'all see it.
Shit post week. Yeah, I did mention we're trialing closed commentary this week. This is just gonna be a one-off. We'll be back in the weeklies, the Zach server next week. But yeah, it wouldn't be a shit post week if we didn't have open commentary. If you ask me. The hex arm pivot looks to be why the calcifier can't be put upstream. Yeah, that's a good shout. Oops. So have a look at the hex arm. So
no, it could be put upstream.
Not here where my cursor is. No.
You can't put it there?
Nope. Because this
tinkering.
Yeah, the hex where my cursor.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the hex where my cursor is. That's not a tinker.
Of all the things to tinker with, we don't need to tinker with calcifiers.
All right. Gonna mosey on over to 6th place. We will be falling under 400. Starting at 395 in 6th place, we have Mr. Puzzle.
Sub 400 already.
Sub 200 minutes some. This is a good effort. This is a last minute effort, so I don't think any of us have seen this solve.
Big Hex Arm makes a return.
The notes read, gotta solve fast, shitty Green Hill Zone .mp3.
So it uses a tri-bonder so that the arm 1, the big hex arm, can make multiple bonds. Or yeah, it's kind of interesting because an initial shape of the product was like a C and a backwards C fused together.
That's right,
and then
yeah.
I turned it to an X because I thought if it's a C shape, it'll be like too obvious, like to use hex arms. But here we are. It's an X shape.
I can't believe we
Still
Twitterified.
using hex arms.
I can't believe we did the Twitter thing to the puzzle.
Everything is X now.
Everything is
X now.
Do people hear the story of I think Elon Musk back in the early 2000s tried to rename PayPal to X.
Yeah, and they fired him for it.
And they fired him because it was a dumb fuck idea.
I thought it was the fact that he named his own payment service X, and then they merged it with PayPal, and then they kept the PayPal name and not the X name, or something.
The hex is for Hexarm.
Who can say?
The X is for Hexarm. Yeah, fuck Elon Musk.
Yeah, not fucking.
Don't actually.
Yeah, I don't know the exact story because I don't study.
Metaphorically.
I don't know the exact story because I don't like. I don't know. I don't really keep up with weird billionaires, but yeah. Hello, Jasper.
Yeah, this is a great solve for 200 minutes.
Yeah, right. I reckon if Mr. Puzzle gave this like a real crack, it could have been way up in the like top 3. I reckon. But that's just speculation. Hello, Jasper writes, interesting thing to notice that the copper fire pair can be made twice and bonded like this, and then transformed into a silver salt for one of those. This is a really cool initial movement here. If I just highlight this first movement, so like yeah, you get the copper fire bonded together, and then like because this one I don't know what number it is exactly. Arm 2 is a single arm. It won't like re-grab copper, and so arm 1, the big hex arm, will just kind of do a natural swing across, and you've already almost got the hex shape. And the multi-bonder kind of serves to kind of justify that swing by making half the X by just planting a Quicksilver right there. Quicksilver placed super conveniently. Just arm 3 just puts it in different spots depending on where it needs to go. And then arm 4 just kind of handles triplex at the end. Like I can like seeing it like all work together. I can kind of see how it's like it was just put together in a few hours, but that's still a very good effort. Like I don't know, there's a nice simplicity to this solve.
Who knew? People experienced at the game are good at making good solves.
Who knew? Oh, I see more Twitter discussion and yeah, stay the fuck away from that, people.
Yeah, Elon Musk said, I have to find somewhere else to post my art.
So just comparing its point on the Pareto frontier compared to the solves we've seen, this is one of the fastest solves we've seen. This is a very good clip speed. Kind of not the smallest. It's not the smallest solve. It is on the big end. And 205 is, you know, towards the pricier end, but it does kind of aim to justify that with its cycle count. Having not thought of this method, I wonder what RA solves look like. Indeed. Okay. We move on to top 5. Not a big drop here. Just the 4 points. We move on to Fiesta Land's solve at 391. For Hexaland, sorry. I got that completely wrong. My apologies, everyone. Okay.
Small hexarm.
Small hexarm.
Like, that's a busy hex arm.
That's a great hexarm, yeah. Also, I like it does this like
Is it pivoting? Yeah.
it does a pre-grab
It's pivoting.
here, which I find is at the very end here. It's like it's not even a period override. It wouldn't have needed it, but it just kind of pre-grabs before it resets, so it doesn't do a wrong grab here, which I think is cool. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, just a nice pivot from the hex arm too. Those are always cool to see.
Hexarm pivot. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Only the one bonder on this solve, by the way.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like min glyphs.
This is Ming glyphs, yeah. Damn. Also, yeah, that oh yeah, okay. This is taken pivot of the week. Well, not confirmed, but it's in the lead for pivot of the week. Particularly this pivot that Arm 1 does to justify this particular rotation, which A, doesn't collide, and B, just perfectly starts the triplex without Arm 3 needing to do anything. And Arm 3 can just kind of come in, finish the job with the triplex while getting the silver on, move up a bit, wait for Arm 2 to get that last fire on, and then pivot it until it becomes salt. This is a small solve, by the way. Sorry, what were you saying?
This is like a kind of a unique construction where it's not building halves. Like, it builds one half, but then it sort of attaches the rest piecemeal. It's not attaching both and triplexing the whole thing. Kind of cool. I don't think anybody else did that.
Triplexing is handled really... This is a really cool solve. I know, this gives me good sum energy, and I know what the better solves look like, so yeah. Okay, so let's read the notes here, because the notes are quite good here. Teamwork makes the dream work. Without any consultation on the subject, Kevaland started out by building a fast, expensive machine, and Fiesta by building a cheap, slow machine, both clocking in at around 460. The better of the two was able to area shave to 439 with G plus C, almost identical for both. But combining the ideas was the ticket, dropping to 414 some. Continuing the theme of area being important, the final major concept was finding this particular triplex spot. So the placement of the glyph, I think that means. It allows 2 of the 3 bonds to just happen, quote unquote, during normal operations, which avoids a whole product swing and saves 12 metric points. The last 11 came from cycle saves. Janky moves on the constructor arm allow the hex to grab the next metal sooner, shaving the period by 2. The fire handler has a completely full tape. Fiesta also wishes to give a shout out to the pivoting hex arm. Its #1 assignment is not by chance. Yeah, definitely a hot contender for pivot of the week here. Yeah, it's really funny they mentioned the 2 of the 3 triplex bonds as just happening. It's even the first one just kind of happens, and here it kind of, yeah, it moves out of the way here anyway. It needs to allow Arm 1 to do its pre-grab to come back in for the final bond, and then Arm 1 swings the other way anyway to promote the metal, so... Really good order of operations. Really cool we got a min glyph solve.
Yeah, very small.
And
very small and cheap.
It's really only
it's slow.
Yeah, it's really only the cycle count that really could be improved here. It is both cheap and small here.
But that's the sum mantra. Or mine, anyway.
Well, yeah, you're always I mean, like I'm always looking at the worst metric and I'm going, oh, but it's slow. Like at least on my own solves. I gotta start numbering my arms by order of coolness. I usually order my arms by like which one starts first, which is what this one also does. So the like the one that starts first should be arm 1 for me. People making predictions in chat as to whether the winning idea will be core first or halves first. I think it's a worthy question to ask. I will not answer it at this moment. Okay, it's time.
I will not be making answers at this time.
I will neither confirm nor deny the existence of an answer. Alright. Our next solve comes in at 376. Submitted by Bambi.
Big drop.
Bit of a drop. Blank, completely blank solution title.
Hacking.
Couple of hex arms here. Quite fast, not too expensive, and pretty small.
2 hex arms.
It's Bambi. It's gotta be fast.
I imagine Bambi subscribes to the Biggie school of fast sum solves. Okay, so breaking down the movement here, we have a handoff between hex arms here, which is really cool.
That's kind of cool.
And then it will hand off a second fire while bonding the calcified one. And then pivoting it so that arm 2 can just freely grab on the next cycle, while arm 4 starts its own half construction. And arm 3 just kind of...
6p?
Um...
Looks like it.
Yeah, it is 6p.
Everybody loves the hex pivots.
Hex pivots are sick. Yeah, I assume, because, yeah, it can kind of, arm 4 here can elect to wait, because it needs to slot this third one in, and it needs to go over arm 2, one of its hexes, so kind of needs to wait, unless you 6p it, and then it can just make those arms wait and have a longer period, but cut latency. Let's highlight the pivot here.
So,
oh, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna go to the pivot because
Alright.
I'm gonna change the topic.
Okay, so first pivot here. Pivot's right onto that Quicksilver. Arm 3's got an easy job here with that Quicksilver as well.
Yeah, arm 3 is kind of setting the pace, and that's kind of what as I was solving it, I found was like the natural cadence for this puzzle was to be set by the Quicksilver arm to do grab, turn, or grab, rotate, return, grab, rotate, rotate, return. And that's kind of like what I was aiming for. And if I could get that to just arm to be busy all the time, then I felt like I was doing good. So I think this solve probably has the exact same cycle count as mine.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you're sum optimizing what pace you set for yourself. Because there are people like Biggie and Bambi who just like lean towards the fast end because their cycle's brained. But, like, you do find, like, certain things to, like, set the pace. Like, as you mentioned here, on this puzzle, arm 3, the Quicksilver arm, will probably do that. But it's just, like, it's the weirdest, most subtle things that dictate the pace of a particular sum solve. I don't know, it depends on the order of operations that a sum puzzle asks of you, I guess.
Hmm.
Interesting quirk for some optimizers. So seeing not one but two 1 length hex arms here. 3 bonders, which is not the biggest amount. There's a bit of track, 4 arms.
Track is almost unavoidable for this puzzle if you're doing the halves method. And probably even if you're not. Have there been any trackless puzzles? You kind of need it to get the triplex.
I can't off the top of my head remember any
arms.
trackless solves. But yeah, I think just because of the, it's the nature of how you have to make triplex bonds. Because usually you want the one arm to handle all your triplex. And when you're building it by halves, it's the last thing you got to do. So that kind of naturally leads to having to use like a couple of hexes a track just to get that third like triplex bond on. Because there's not going to be a better way to handle that. You don't want to like, you usually don't want to like buy a second triplex bonder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, calcification in particular here is handled really slick, I think. Also, an amusing facet of this puzzle. I think this is because of the 6p. You see, it's not doing it here, but... give it a sec. Here it is. One kind of like moves a couple of extra hexes across, and you got this like carryover fire hex, and that one gets calcified, and you're like, wait, is that going to fuck things up? But then it just doesn't, and it'll just calcify a second time and kind of slot back into the order of operations.
That's nice.
Fun little quack. Vintage triplex. Oh, that's a sadistic idea.
RPO's proposing a piston. Blasphemy.
Nah, we don't not pistons here. Not on my some streams. I always maintain that was my one bit of constructive criticism for Goodbye Galaxy's list of rules. I maintain no pistons should be a rule.
I wasn't hard on pistons enough.
Yeah, nah. Not big on pistons. Anyway, we'll take the idea seriously.
One day, Zorflax, you and I have to tackle that speed solve sum record that still has a piston in it, just so we can say
I have
sum solves.
I have actually tried that in the past with no success. It's an annoyingly good solve, but I will come. I do want to come back to it and beat it one day. So what is the idea? I think if 4 was a piston, you could retract into a more area conservative product. Not that it would save enough area. Yeah, you'd have to save a lot of area to justify that idea,
Yeah.
I think.
Plus, you can't rotate with a length 2 arm. It has to be length 3 to get the swings around.
Exactly, yeah.
Or pivot, I mean.
This has a true rate, and it's slightly below 20. Yeah, my solution passer doesn't give me the rate. That is, unless we're doing the rate metric, but this one is not. So I don't
think
have
I
the
saw
rate.
it was like a fractional rate
Yeah, this one would have a fractional rate.
because of the 6p.
I mean, I guess we could include it in the notes, but don't make it like it.
Just to answer Yoshi's statement here, yeah, production sum's completely different. You absolutely need pistons there. Yeah, that's a different beast. All right. We move on to our top 3. We will take a 10-point drop to start with. At third place, at 366, we have the Weekly Gang. Not to be confused with the Weekly Gang.
Who's in this gang?
So this is Faindeer, Rebix, and Gecko. I think this particular solve was mostly Rebix.
And the big hex arm is back. And this is really cool. What it's doing with the Quicksilver, passing it off to the hex arm, so then it input suppresses the fire.
So we actually do have
everything's
2.
in its right place.
Yeah, so we actually do have 2 triplex bonders here. Interestingly.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that.
But alright, so yeah, we're back to the Mr. Puzzle strategy of or I should say Mr. Puzzle strategy of this big hex arm doing these swings. Yeah, big hex arm's been it's been cropping up here and there. I really like the way 3 kind of hands off to one end to the big hex arm, and it will just kind of input suppress the fire to get its way through, and then just kind of slot the Quicksilver to proc on the other side here. calcification is handled very easily here.
The pivot on silver is nice, as Kazian points out at the very end.
Pivot
This
on
nice
silver at
little
the
area
end.
save.
It's pretty clutch here, yeah. The pivot at the end.
And Arm 4 just has the spare instructions to just bloop, do a little regrab.
So, this looks 6p to me. Yeah, it is 6p.
Why does it have to be?
That's a good question, actually.
What is it saving?
It looks like arm 1.
Hmm.
Okay, so here, usually it would like swing twice and then do a regrab to get the next fire loaded, but here it can just do a third swing, and arm 4 is like, it usually has to wait a cycle. That's what the single gap in the instruction tray is. But here it doesn't, so it saves one cycle, I think.
Hey, worth it.
Hey, yeah, a cycle is a cycle. Yeah, it looks worse than it is on area. Same with cost. You look at
the kind of bad on area.
Yeah, but just it's such a quick. It's a really low cycle count though. That is the lowest cycle count we've seen so far. This is super fast. Yeah. Yeah, this is the lowest cycle count among scoring solves.
Cool.
A cycle is a cycle. You can't say it's only a half. Half a cycle. Oh man, just overlap things. So the notes here say Jinyu was not kidding. Great firewall got hands. Discord and Twitch don't load in China, but I think I can read push notifications. So I guess DM me the results. I think that's Rebix loading that. Writing that.
Rebix is in China.
Rebix is in China.
Rebix is in China.
Rebix is in China.
Guess so.
A great firewall got hands.
Great firewall got hands. Why is Rebix in China?
Stuff, probably.
Cross the strait and come visit me.
But yeah, just an incredibly fast cadence. I'm just, this is a good one to just, I don't know, I know it's a pretty hypnotic hex arm.
It's a good GIF.
Okay. That brings us on down to our top two. Coming in second place at 365 is Ebenov. Only beat this solve by 1 point. If full product is chunky, half product also gets to be chunky. Another big hex arm.
Yeah, this is turning out to be method.
Yeah. It's quickly becoming method.
I said this before the stream, I don't know if y'all said it again, but this reminds me of Panacea to Poison.
Yeah, the big hex arms. Remind me of Panic Solve.
Okay, so interesting thing here it does here with the copper, it'll like, depending on whether it needs to be silver or not, it will hand off to Arm 2 and Arm 2 will just kind of yoink it out, wait for it, and just kind of proc and quickly, no, it won't quickly, it will wait for the other copper to bond and then just slot itself back in to the hex arm, and the hex arm never even needs to grab it because like it just bonds itself naturally. And usually when you're doing these like big hex arm strats, you're worried about missing a bond, but this never seems, it doesn't miss a bond. It's, I don't know, very nice placement of the bonders themselves.
Arm 2 is a little sad. Just got the one job.
It's a, it's an interesting job,
Although
but it is
funny,
just the one job.
It is weird because it grabs and then it just goes back.
Actually, Biggie also calling out Ferris wheel. Yeah, it's like you're building two halves of Ferris wheel and you have to bond them backwards together. Not a bad shout, actually, Ferris wheel. Yeah, I know we never did some, but cycles felt summy on Ferris wheel just because it's such a high cycle count.
Is Ferris wheel on the leaderboard?
Yeah, I think it is.
Then we have some solves. Let me go check them.
So let me read the notes to this one. Turns out, Fire Quicksilver Hex is more workable than Fire Copper or all Regents to build into a reasonably fast half assembly. The big problem under this motif is that projection happens close to the product Quicksilver, but the resulting silver must bond between fires, which is far away from it. Separate silver and copper arms help this storage and make hex arm weight free nicely. The triplex merge halves part bleeds area, but there's only so many options when you have one arm and only 9 free cycles between second half's grab window and first half's grab window. In other words, processing the first half quicker doesn't really help the rate at all. I had hope for early triplex build order, so core first, but it turns out all my sub 400s built in halves, hex arm or not. Maybe handling the center is just too awkward and building a half is just too easily batchable. So I think Evanov's putting his stake in the... So Evanov's putting his stake in the ground here, saying halves is the better way to do it, because this big hex arm motif is just very powerful. It's
I
a
think
cheap...
RPO is going to be disappointed.
I will say, yeah, this method, it's a cheap way to go fast. I think that's why it feels powerful here.
So the question is, did I get 0th place? Or do I have to eat dark matter?
Yeah, we do still have a Goodbye Galaxy solve to show. By the way, just to remind you all. I guess one last point on this solve is that I do agree with Mr. Puzzle that Arm 4's use of area is a bit unfortunate. This final swing is just chonky.
It is a bit, yeah.
It's a shame you can't, like, slot it in, like, here. I literally can't fit it in. That's the best I can do. But it's a shame it doesn't, like, go there nicely. That would save valuable area. Because otherwise, it's not expensive and it is fast. Okay. Our next solve, coming in at 358, is Goodbye Galaxy. This was the author medal.
Dun, dun, dun.
Goodbye, Galaxy. We have to eat dark matter now.
You have to eat dark matter. Sorry. Just one spoon though.
Small hex arm.
Yeah, I got the small one.
You got the
not use method.
You got that Fiesta pivot going.
Yeah, but the hex arm does not do it. It's arm 2 that does the pivot, and then it also moves it off the hex arm into the triplex zone.
Very nice swing here. So
and
it's good.
It's really cool. Arm 3 is handling the Quicksilver, and it's doing that cadence that I was saying, like turn, return, turn, turn, return.
I think
it's got a nice little snap when everything sort of comes into place for the final right there.
Well, I find it interesting because, we talked about that cadence earlier, and it was a lot easier to visualize because it was a length one arm doing it. But here, I think the importance of that cadence is kind of like even more powerful because it's a big hex arm and it gets that. Sorry, big hex arm, just a big arm doing it, and so like I don't know, it lets you explore geometries that you couldn't really explore with a length on arm, and you can just kind of like weave it like, you can weave that projection glyph, like, really into the, like, middle of the solve here, above the triplex, and that, I don't think that, and while at the same time having the normal bonder below the triplex, swinging across that triplex kind of really helps. And so it doesn't constrain you to having to put the bonder right next to the projection glyph.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think helps conserve area, which, and this isn't the biggest area, it isn't the smallest area count, but it's not like it's
kind of middle of the road.
It's pretty middle of the road, and I think it's pretty good considering all the length 3 arms and swinging that this does.
I mean, the output is large enough that you can kind of afford those swings.
Yeah.
It's kind of the ironic thing about making a quote unquote area matters sum puzzle is area ends up not mattering. Like, it's because the product is big, you're like, well, it's gonna be big, so what can I do?
I feel like
well, we force area to matter on the other metric.
Yeah, exactly.
Area will matter. Yeah, I know. I feel like I got a bit lucky with eye drops of irritation. It's because, like, when you got to the top end, it's just area started really mattering. When you guys were, like, optimizing below the 370s into the 360s, like, none of the solves were big anymore, and you had to have this, like, small idea. But, I don't know, I put that down to luck. I wasn't really... Like, I obviously the puzzle was designed with irritation in mind, but... yeah, I don't know. Area does not usually matter that much. 270s into 260s. Yeah, that's what I meant. So, I don't know, back to this solve, though. I don't know, it's a really sensible, normal point on the Pretty Frontier. It's kind of, like, pretty middle of the road, just with
That's
pretty good...
That's kind of my style.
That's your style, yeah. Yeah, you seem to hit the middle of that Pretty Frontier a lot,
I'm average everything.
Yeah.
Just a little below average.
Yeah, just try and keep things well balanced, just below average. I'm usually on the slower, smaller end. And then you got people like Biggie, who's like on the faster, bigger end. I like how the entire half completes in one operation. Yeah. It's the way it just like really neatly snaps together. Like, bang. Whoops, let me just do that again. So it's...
Yeah, that's nice.
Whoosh. So you get that bond, you get a triplex and a projection happening all on the same cycle. And it just kind of prepares for that big swing. And it's a clutch swing. I like how the geometry works out between, I think it's arms 2 and 3. The single arms that just kind of swing, like, next to each other. And that angle kind of works out nicely. And then it's just a matter of arm 4 doing the triplex bonds, which is, it's handled pretty straightforwardly here. Because arm 4's got a lot of, it just has a lot of room to work with to get those triplex.
It's kind of annoying that I have to move the half out of the way. It costs me a bit of area to do that swing over the output.
Yeah.
And then I have to move it back. Just a few hexes, but...
Yeah,
I was trying to see if I could get away with, like, adding an extra thing of track to translate out of the way, but didn't work.
When you're a sum main, those few hexes never fail to annoy you.
Yeah, they start to annoy you.
Even though they never really matter that much at the end, they annoy you. The fact that the entire half completes not in the range of a Hexarm's grabber is a massive convenience buff. I think it really helps speed up the solve as well. Yeah, that's another good shout. Okay. That being said, we have one more solve to show.
We take a drop.
It got the author medal. It was pretty comfortably too. We dropped down another 15 points to 343. Well done, team. Still not a Jasper.
Kazian crushed it.
15 metric points at the top.
Kazian dominated this week.
And it's basically the perfect version of that big Hexarm solve that we've seen other people doing. And Kazian was the first person to do a solve like this. So I was just on like OmSim just like staring at it for so long. It was so cool.
We also have a multi-bonder in the winning solve.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's only 3 arms. So that second arm 2 is just plunking the copper in the same spot, and then arm 1 does literally everything else. It's so cool.
Arm 1 is useful in all 6 directions here, which I think is incredible. Like, maybe that down left, you can argue maybe not, but, like, it still has to grab atoms through to that point, and arm 3 has to swing from that point. So, I count it as useful in that 6th direction. Maybe I'm just being fanciful, but yeah.
And it drops the Quicksilver off, and then arm 3 just rotates it into the projector, which is so nice.
Yeah, just this really natural pivot. And it needs to pivot that way anyway for triplex. So, and then it
pivot
kind
of the weak contender.
A projection / triplex pivot. It's up there.
Oh, this is a pretty tight contest for pivot of the week, actually. I don't know. It was almost like the other pivot stood on its own merits a bit more, but this pivot kind of works its way into the rest of the solve a lot more nicely. Gee, I don't know. That's a tough shout for pivot of the week.
I respect just leaving the Curtelli up there floating on its own too.
I'll be honest, I don't. There's a spot right next to arm 1. Put it there, damn it.
Too obvious.
We'll have to just disagree. All right, let's read the notes
It's
here.
not even on the top right. It's been moved. It's been placed.
It was put there on purpose. That's what I. All right, let's read the notes. I had difficulty approaching the seeming practical minimum period of 16 without needing 1 arm for every input, 1 helper arm to reposition an input, some short tracks, and a length 3 arm on a track for output. This large hex arm solves several problems in that it can handle 2 different inputs, but also output them into different locations. Thankfully, little of the area it needs is wasted. Previous attempts often involved higher area, so beating them with this big hex arm was quite nice. At period 18, it eliminates the helper arm, 1 input handling arm, and some track. This is far from perfect. The multi-bonder is expensive, the machine is not period 16, and I've had designs with areas as low as 57, but I set a target for myself to beat 350, which was difficult, and I am pleased to have done so. Alchemist Kazian in correspondence with Alchemist Jasper.
I mean, far from perfect, I don't know. I think it's pretty close. It's how much lower could this possibly get? It's super cheap, it's very fast, and it's big, but not that big.
It's the only one of these big hex arm solves that I've seen that managed to worm its way under 70 area. 69 to be
That's a very nice area.
Inside the hex.
To be exact, 69 area. It's I believe this was the cheapest scoring solve.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Fiesta Land was 5G more. Fiesta Land was also there. Fiesta Land had a similar cost, but was much slower. So, yeah, the fact
I can't
that
even say cheaper and slower because it's cheaper and pretty fast.
This is, yeah, right. It manages to hit like a perfect cheap and fast point. And it's really funny because, like, I know Kazian as a sum main would have looked at that multi-bonder and gone, multi-bonder. Can't I just use 2 normal bonders? But, I don't think the geometry
it only costs you 10. It only costs you 10G, and I think it's saving you way more.
The fact that there are literally no other bonders or glyphs, and you're only using 3 arms here. Most of the solves we've seen were more like 4 arms, so you're like, you're saving a full arm here, and that kind of more than justifies having to use a multi-bonder, because you can really only think of the multi-bonder as an extra 10G investment, because you're going to have to use 2 bonders anyway, unless you pull off some insane shit like Fiesta Land did, but that's the exception, not the norm. So, I personally don't think the extra bonder cost is a problem at all. And you've done really well to manage to squeeze it under 70 area. And at just 114, that period 18 is really, really good here. Like, yeah, I know, period 18.
I was watching Kazian's submissions as like the week went on in the on the admin page, and he was going like 370, 370 or 365, 360, and I'm like, ooh, it's getting close to my 358, but I still got it. And then one day, just bam,
He posts
343.
He posts this
destroyed
bomb.
me.
But yeah, I know. I think 114 cycles, or more, I should say, period 18 at this cost is an achievement. You do still have it, my dude.
Thanks. Yeah, this is a cool solve.
So what are our takeaways from this puzzle? I mean, Hexarms, I think, ended up being quite clearly overpowered.
Yeah.
Although
I did have a few early solves in like the 370 range that had no hex arms. So I'm surprised. I don't think we saw any in like the top 6 or so that had no hex arms.
Well, there were a couple of the method solves all had big hex arm.
Yeah.
I'm usually hesitant with big hex arms. I know that's just me as a sum solver. Obviously, most sum solvers are less hesitant than me to use big hex arms. But it's really well justified here. I think, as Biggie shouted out, the Ferris wheel kind of method here of like having those bonds at those angles. Because like Ferris wheel is a puzzle that has a lot of 180-degree bonds mixed in with a lot of 120-degree bonds. And that's what length 2 hex arms do really well. It's one of the things they do really well, but it really shines on this puzzle as well as Ferris wheel, as well. Not so much Panacea to poison. That's a completely different reason, but yeah, having those 180-degree bonds mingled with those 120-degree bonds really, and the fact that it's a big ass output, and you can afford, and you could at the end of the day afford to expunge out a little on area. So yeah. I find it interesting that big hex arms are really powerful here, but I think it's well justified. And yeah, I think halves was the better shout here. And
halves was definitely the winner.
Sorry, RPO, but yeah, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening with the core. It just, I don't know. It's easier to like, I don't know, deal with triplex at the end and like, because it means you get all of your other steps out of the way super quickly, and it's more convenient to do that than to try and worry about all the other steps at the end after triplex. I can't imagine halves having a shot in RA though. I'm honestly okay.
I definitely tried. What I learned in RA, watching the solves come in, is that I'm bad at RA.
I have this weird blind spot when it comes to rate in general. Not even just RA, but just any rate, RG. All other sum optimizers are great at it. I don't know why I fucking suck at it. It annoys me.
I made an RG solve for this. I should have submitted it as a showcase.
Ah, well. I'm gonna read this real quick, even though it's in Discord. And Kazian writes in the Weeklies channel in Discord, "My headcanon law for some, it's the maintainability metric. Fewer parts are better, having to run your machine for less time is better, and it's easy to maintain a few extra tiles of area, but it adds up. Sum 4 exists because some alchemists point out that there's work involved in inscribing every instruction correctly. Sum 3 adherents disagree because you only have to get the instructions right the first time, and then maintenance deals with all the other constituents that can go wrong." That's some cool headcanon. I wanted to read that before we moved on to rate. So sorry, I'm like, oh yeah.
Like the in-universe explanation for some.
There is no weekly game this week. I lumped you, Rebix, and Gecko together because in your submission name on the Discord you put all 3 names, so I made the assumption based off that you were still a team. Although I see Rebix didn't do that, so maybe I should have clued in. But yeah, sorry, that would be why.
It's like the Beatles. Every song gets attributed to Lennon McCartney.
Sorry, before we move on, Fendi, did you have a sum solve that I, like, skipped over as a result? I don't see a Fendi sum solve. I'm pretty sure the answer is no, unless it's that. No, it's not that.
No, I think we're good.
No, okay, no, we're good. Alright. Okay, I'll suss out whether Rebix submitted for rate then. But I think Big Boy Hexarm, good name. It is time to move to rate. Let me just get my passer ready.
As far as I can see, Rebix only submitted some.
Okay, so yeah, okay. I might have sussed that out before, and then just forgot that I sussed that out because, because it was. I thought it was convenient that one of you submitted for one metric and one for the other, and that your Discord name. You put all 3 Discord names in, so I'm like, okay, they're a team this week, but non-issue. I might actually go for a quick bathroom break before we move on to rate, if that's cool.
It's a good idea.
Alrighty.
Alright, so if one or two of you want to keep chat entertained or not, I'll leave that up to you. I'll be back.
How's everybody
Welcome
doing?
to, Bist is an EP girl and has almost been falling asleep this stream.
You got me and Zorflax getting into the
You
weeds
two are
on
the
some.
sun people. I'm just here in case Surflex's internet dies.
We thank you for your service.
Maybe I'll fall asleep. I'll see. Oh yeah.
Yosh, I'm just gonna assume that I've already had several teaspoons pass through my body every second. But maybe not. You never know.
If anything, you can make like some squid ink spaghetti or something and call that for Magnum.
Yeah.
That sounds good right about now. I'm hungry. Maybe that's why I'm sleepy. Gotta get some food in the morning.
Three souls with the same RA.
I guess we gotta start with all the same rate now.
Yeah. Rate was pretty easy. 4 of
Let's
every
see. Opus
input.
tools. Yeah, we could just start at like min rate.
Mm-hmm.
Are you not?
What would you like me to do, Fine Dear? Fun fact.
Fun fact, I'm EP.
My day is consumed by my daughter. I'm just taking care of her all day.
She was adorable, by the way.
Oh yeah, Bist and Zorflax heard her as I connected to comms.
I forgot what she said.
She wanted me to help her with a video game, which she's now playing, much to my joy. if you have a kid, the best games to get them are games where they don't have to control the camera. That is
Oh yeah, I
kryptonite for
still
children.
suck at controlling the camera even.
She always just points it straight into the ground or straight up into the sky.
I don't know if I've ever have kids. Maybe. Maybe not. I'll see.
It's pretty great, my opinion. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
But it's easy to say that when you already got one.
Yeah, but like I don't think I am biologically capable, but you know.
Well, there's that.
We'll see.
It's a minor hiccup.
So how have you guys' days been? Y'all in the chat? Alright, Biggie did the Summer of Math exposition thing. I've yet to check that video out. I might soon.
Okay, peeps.
Coincidentally do the same time at this puzzle, I see.
Alright, what's happening?
Hey, we're just
We were
chilling.
just idly chatting.
Nice. Alright.
I just asked how everybody's day has been. Yo, that means the computation baby blog is coming soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully that is what that means.
Yeah, but I definitely have to check out the video sometime.
I guess while we're chilling...
The
Oh, sorry.
div video, apparently that's how it's pronounced.
Yo, what video games has everyone been playing lately? Other than Opus Magnum.
Wild Frost. A whole shit ton of Wild Frost.
Yeah. Gothic 2, Nest Tetris. I've been playing, last night there was an expansion pack for a game called Medieval, which is a boomer shooter, which I very much like, that came out. So I played the shit out of that last night. Minecraft, Terraria, various things, Celeste.
I just finished
Lots
a
of
replay of Dark
Celeste.
Souls 1.
You played Dark Souls 1 again. Nice.
Yeah.
Slay the Spire! Yo, I
Still
love
holds up.
Slay the Spire.
Slay the
I've been
Spire is
obsessed
great.
with the different card building roguelike though.
Oh, I used to
Deck
play
building roguelike.
heaps of Bejeweled Twist back in the day.
Bejeweled Twist.
I was
Oh
actually
yeah, I remember that.
I was gonna play Sekiro, like next
Oh,
month.
yeah. That's a great one.
It's
hard as hell, though.
It's the one that it's the one that I'm the most scared of, because I'm
I
not the
played
best.
every Souls game, and it's the hardest one.
Yeah, I skipped Dark Souls 2. I don't know.
Dark Souls 2 is one of my favorites.
Oh, sorry. I started on Bloodborne. That's the one that's my favorite one.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Well, I left my water in the kitchen. I'll be back in like 10 seconds.
Playing a lot of Untitled Goose Game, because that's what my daughter likes.
Untitled Goose Game is great. Honk honk.
And you can play it 2-player with her, so I'm playing it with her. It's a lot of
Yo.
fun.
Oh, that's adorable.
Well, it was a lot of fun until now we've got like 30 hours in it, and we've done
30 hours in
everything.
a Goose Game.
It's
that's
too
kind
much.
of bad.
It's way too much.
Goose Game's amazing though.
Yeah.
Yes, get some
But, you know,
honks.
30 hours in Goose Game is quite a bit.
Get some honks
It's
in.
not that replayable of a game.
Yeah.
Get some honks into
Oh
the
my
chat.
god. I thought I was exaggerating, but I just checked, and yeah, it's 30 hours. Oh my god.
Honk in the chat. Let
Unironically,
me check my.
I think Untitled Goose Game is the first stealth game that I've ever enjoyed.
Stealth game. I guess you could say that.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a technicality, but like I usually hate
It's definitely a stealth game.
I usually hate
And it's
anything
not-
to do with stealth games, but Untitled Goose Game's just too good.
Well,
Let me check my
they
most played games.
the conceit of it is that if you get caught in stealth, it's not a shootout that you have to get out of. It's just a shoo. It's just get out of here,
Yeah.
and that just makes stealth way more fun.
No, I fully agree with that. Usually, if it's like a stealth game with shoot mechanics, I'm like, I would rather just shoot. I don't want to sit around and wait for the bad guy to like find me and kill me. But no, it's cooler when I'm pissing someone off and they just shoo me when they find me. Is it raid time? Yeah, we'll do raid. Okay.
Yeah, raid time is soon.
Raid time
Let me
is...
see my most played games. There's Opus Magnum at 572 hours. It's still up there. Even though I haven't launched the game officially in a while. And then there's Hades, then Slay the Spire, then Celeste, and then Wild Frost.
Nice. Okay.
Biggie, you got tons of hours, but you also just leave the game on.
Yeah, so do I. I'm at 3,800.
Whoa. Yeah, I just recently clocked 3,000.
Total?
Well, I mean, not including modded Opus Magnum, but...
Oh, and Opus Magnum. Yeah, I don't have a lot in Opus Magnum. I don't actually play this game that much.
Here you are.
Funnily enough.
So there
Doesn't
was...
help the last tournament was completely played and modded. Yeah.
Okay, so there was 7 T-Storms solve, which was not min rate.
Yeah, I guess we can see that again.
Yeah, we'll show that again. It did clock in at 15th place. We'll be brief about this though, because we've already seen the solve, and it doesn't really. There's not much in terms of rate tech to talk about.
But it is core first, which people have been hypothesizing would be the winning strat for rate.
So why do people think core first will compare more favorably than it did in some? I wonder.
You have to then do the triplex with the whole product if you're doing halves, which is big.
I guess doing core first, I don't know, because you have to be pulling every couple of cycles, I think you'd rather just get that triplex out of the way, because like the amount of cycles you have to do shit is going to be tighter before you have to move it onto other hexes. Which is a problem for rate area. So, yeah, my guess is because like there are a lot of the sum solves where like building the halves, you could barely get one of the halves out of the way in time, and then an arm just kind of deals with triplex afterwards. And that doesn't seem as viable for rate. Because, yeah, I don't know. You want to do triplex quickly as you can, so just doing it kind of out of the way early is better than having to worry about it for 3 or 4 cycles at the end while you're swinging around a giant Twitter logo. It didn't make as much sense for some because you'd need extra arms to make the Quicksilver and Salt, but that's not a problem in RA. Yeah, okay. Okay, so RG would also be halves. Okay, interesting observation. So it is just an area-specific second.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I remember at one point Haxton in our weekly gang chat was like, "Thank God we went RA. These are really cool solves."
Yeah, I've been looking at the solves on OmSim, and I'm not really like familiar with looking at stuff on OmSim, or is it OmClone?
I think it's
so
on
it's just
Clone.
a mess.
I think it's on Clone that we use.
It's just a mess for me.
Yeah, so us hosts, we use OM Clone. Thank you very much. Not great for that. It lets us look at the solves without having to open the game. It's really good because I can just like look at shit on my phone or wherever.
Yeah.
I actually don't use OM Clone that much. I tend to download the whole thing.
You get the like AHK sorted out, don't you?
Yeah, because like I know how to work my way around the AHK pretty efficiently, so I like downloading and seeing the placements and shit. So I don't have to do mental math and be like, oh, this is better than this one, and like trying to line up the columns. So if this is the solve, yeah, I have to tap that one specifically.
Okay, moving on. We go straight to min rate. And our first one is submitted by Cuckoo52. Very area conscious solve, as you can see.
This looks like Cuckoo 52 already.
I didn't even need to announce it. You can just look at the solve and be like, yep, that's weird. Peak solve.
It's a biggie brick.
So, point of criticism here. I'll say it, bit of a hot take. There's a few too many glyphs. I'm sorry, there's just a couple too many for me. If I was rate optimizing this, I don't know. A few less than like 50 odd glyphs would probably, you know, I wouldn't aim for 50. I'd probably keep it to a couple dozen lower than that. Maybe that's just me being stupid though. Who knows?
Incomplete, incorrect product. Just shuffled off to the side.
This is the coolest, like, kind of batching thing. It'll put two X's together. I don't know, at the very end here. It's like 2.5 X's. 2 and a bit, yeah, 2.5 X's all get bonded together at one point. It's an awesome cuckoo train. Each output is a body.
Rubik's 8 rate is as best.
Oh yeah, we are actually min rate. Let's talk about that. So, you'll notice if we look at the regents column here on the left of screen, there are 3 of them. And looking at the product, you need each of these 3 regents. You need 4 of each. So you need 4 fires because 2 fires and 2 salts. You need 4 quicksilvers because 2 quicksilvers, and you need to project twice. And you need 4 metals because there are 4 metals. So, and because there are 4 of each, you can only pull a regent once every 2 cycles, which means you can only output once every 8 cycles. So 8R is min primary, which we are already at.
8. Great rate, mate.
Great rate, mate. 8 out of 8. Alright. Moving on to 12th place. Coming in at 285 area. We're gonna just like, yeah, there'll be a few nosedives. So brace yourself. We have Yosh. Cycles, but you don't care about cycles. That's a good way of thinking about rate. I don't know. For me personally, I like it.
It's more of an RG mantra, I would think.
That's fair.
Kind of applies to rate or RA as well.
I think
of RA as closer to cycles area than RG is to cycles gold, just because you want to get the atoms off the board, so otherwise you got to use area to store them, so you want to have low latency.
Yeah, I guess in terms of primary,
and the same thing.
In terms of primary, you don't really care about the cycles, but like specifically with an area secondary, you do want to be conscious because you are pulling shit once every 2 cycles, and there's a lot of it flying around, and you want to minimize the amount of flying around, and the easiest way to do that is to get it off the board as quickly as you can. So in that sense, yeah, RA, you got to be a bit more cycles conscious than RG. RG, you can just go fucking nuts. But nevertheless, you will get min primary anyway, so this is a solid solve. Just have a look.
There's a lot of crazy intermediates here. Like
there are a lot of intermediates.
silvery molecule going around the top is just keeps getting rebonded and bonded and debonded and
Yeah, this looks like a hell of a construction. I'm just looking at all these arms. There's actually not a lot of track here. There's like in the middle in particular, there are just like a lot of pistons and stationary arms, which I think looks cool. Let's have a look at the notes. This was the first RA solve I ever made, and my god, this is a fun metric. MVA, most valuable arm in this solve, is arm 31. That piston is doing magic. Where is... Let's find it. Piston 31. Oh, bottom. So here is the MVA of the solve. And it is doing a lot of work. That's a pretty sick X arm. It's a pretty clutch triangle track, actually.
and at just the right period. Even with got a hex or no. I'm looking at something else. Could be a length of one arm. Oh yeah, Biggie's right.
It could. Yeah, I have to admit my eyes went there as well. It didn't have to be a piston. Well, that wouldn't have mattered on the secondary, so that is... It's not too important, but yeah. It's probably still the coolest arm. Like, just in terms of its actual function, it's cool, like, triangle movement here. Bon output. But yeah, this is a hell of a construction. I don't know, anything big is just taxing to make, so you've gotten it at min rate. Yeah, that's a Critelli I respect. I'll grant you that one. I wonder whether the fire input can move 2 up, right, and save 2 arms. Oh.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
That does save secondary. Everyone's tinkering hat is on today. Oh, did I not read the notes? Oh shit! I read the notes and distracted myself by arm 31. Sorry. If there is an easy way to save exactly 14 area, tell me, because having 271 area would be dope. You know, since the first 3 digits of E are 2.71. It's funny though, because before when arm 17 didn't start by pivoting clockwise, arm 17 being above the Critelli, by pivoting clockwise, the area was 347. So I said to myself I wanted a gun for an area score of pi, 314. But when I made it pivot that way, suddenly I shaved many hexes off the score. I tried making a second solve, but I kept running into issues, so I'll stop here. Some looks very daunting, not even going to try it.
The input position changing would save area.
I don't think it saves 14, but it would save... Oh, I mean...
It'll save quite a bit.
Yeah, probably like in the realm of 9 to 10 hexes. Probably not 14. Anyway, with that we shall move on. Coming in at 11th place, we will drop on once more to 204 hexes. This time, Luna.
Yo, Luna.
I appreciate seeing Luna's name here in the submission list. Not a name I'm used to seeing. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, it's nice to see Luna around.
It is.
The space-themed usernames got to stick together.
we love our dear girl.
Alright. I'm gonna get straight to the notes again because the notes are once again top tier. This formulation is inspired by the proposed mechanism of the substance's formation. Copper and quicksilver, formed by previous energetic interactions, quickly bind, fusing and sometimes promoting under the intense heat, never leaving each other's side. A slow-moving nucleus of metastable fire from the star's core latches onto these fast particles, their speed knocking it into free space. The substance produced matches Professor Tyne's reports, including its behavior under universal solvent and its secondary structure under the fire pole of a Marco quintessence test. Standard equipment shows it to be invisible in a variety of mediums. Sensitive quick-fire imagery reveals measurable distortion, though this did not help prevent us tripping over certain samples. I could not get this solution to run on our research engines capable of viewing ether. An alternative formulation was used instead, allowing us to directly verify its properties. More info on that solve. That was the sum solve, probably, I was referring to.
Love those notes.
I wonder if these solves are actually just a medium for its writing.
Hey, I respect that.
ARM1 is so cool, grabbing both inputs.
So, interesting coincidence here. Luna's notes mention metastable fire. That was literally the original name for this puzzle.
That's right, actually.
This puzzle was
amazing.
It was originally a stabilized fire was the input before there was metal involved. So it was kind of like taking fire and stabilized fire and destabilizing it.
See, it was very much, yeah, metastable fire is a very good shout in the notes. So, interestingly, this solve actually uses a fair amount of RG tech with a couple of like pistons and tracks thrown in, but those big hex arms, they scream RG to me. Funnily enough, I should get Chat GPT to write my notes one day.
Oh no, not
ChatGPT to make a sum solve.
We did. Oh god, no. We Oh, I still remember.
You had to draw a circle. You wanted to try and make a sum solve.
I still fondly remember Bambi's Chat GPT poem. Also, I had a stroke trying to read that poem. That was not fun. I'm not saying don't do it, or like unless it's comically long, I'll probably read it. Okay. Moving on. We hit our top 10. The area count will take one final nosedive. We go straight on down to 85 area with Ebenov. Bonder is overrated. I can zoom in for this one.
Doing halves.
We have single Bonder.
Wow, that's crazy.
Very solid bonkles. Very solid bonkles solution here. There's an absolute crapload of pistons on on tracks here. So I'm gonna really slow. Actually, let's turn on turtle mode.
Yeah, that's gonna help.
Especially for the left-hand side, because there is a lot happening on the left-hand side here. So, worth noting is that you can think about, for this solve, you can think about the Quicksilver and the Fire in a similar way. They're both positioned in the same way relative to the Bonder, so that one of its if we start with Quicksilver, one of its half of it will just go to proc, which the kind of copper is positioned right behind, so it has to go through that before being bonded, and sometimes R8 will just make sure it doesn't proc when it needs to not proc, so that's cool. And the other half of the Quicksilver goes straight onto the Bonder. With Fire, half of it goes straight onto the Bonder, the other half goes onto this Calcifier, which is very cheekily nestled in right before it goes onto the other half of the Bonder as required. I gotta sneeze. continuing on, and the fact that that salt starts on that other half of the bonder is kind of important because 8R means you need to bond them literally every cycle. So that first bond, you need that one salt starting on the other half of the bonder, and you can just kind of feed the rest from there on in. Important, it is the pistons here on the right grabbing the quicksilver that kind of needs to come in and swing it out of the way. And it just kind of deals with triplex here, a couple of triplex bonders at the end. So we did say core first would be more powerful. This is a halves approach. I stepped away to take out the dog and we skipped 100. 3 bonders. Nah, yeah, not 1 normal bonder and 2 triplex bonders. Snack. Where's that picture of a horse Biggie posted? That's a good shout. That first half is like primo quality RA, not a single hex wasted, and the right side's just like, oh, I gotta swing. Shit. Fuck. All right. Let's just get the swing out of the way. Also, a really cool moment here on this exact cycle where the silver actually goes over one of the track hexes. This is the part of the horse drawing that's like a masterpiece. Look at this. It's just...
You could put the calcifier there too. I don't know if that saves anything. Probably not.
Unless he could do something... No, probably not. Nah, I think this is its best spot anyway, because that fire has to go in that direction anyway to get onto the other half of the bonder. Which is a very clutch swing, by the way, because it's here when these pistons swing the sneck half out of the way, and Salt gets pushed up on the same cycle, and it barely doesn't collide.
Yeah, the halves method, I think, has a lot of issue with just getting stuff out of the way. Like, you can see, like, it's just always on the verge of hitting the next product.
Yeah. Only 8 height, though. This is pretty cool. Okay, if I was placing Criteria, I would have put it between these two arms, arm 16 and arm 18.
You're gonna like my solve then.
Alright. Glad to hear it. Okay. Time to move on. Coming in at 9th place. We'll saunter down to 79 hexes. Submitted by Mad Monkey.
Is that Mad Master and Matter Monkey?
That is. It's usually just Mad Master, but I'm pretty sure like Matter Monkey is included in in DMs. So min height. We have min height. Yeah, right, this one I can just speed up a bit.
I think there's a swing that makes it not min height.
Say it ain't so. Nah, that's good. That's min height.
Oh yeah, you're right.
The notes read, I don't know how to make a solve optimized for RA. However, I do know about height rate, and in the end they aren't so different after all. It's not the worst heuristic, to be honest.
This is cool. It's doing all the quicksilver at the very end. I wouldn't have thought of that. But
That's pretty novel.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like...
That does seem like height. That seems like height tech.
Yeah, it's gonna be a killer height rate solve. This is a killer height rate solve. What am I talking about? So, in interesting order of operations here, it will bond all the fire and salt likes together way at the start, and it's not quite a core first, but it's like a core halfway through, and it'll do all, as Goodbye Galaxy said, the Quicksilver at the end. If you have a look, Yeah, it's actually quite nice because you get both bonds happening, bang, and then as it pulls away, both projection glyphs will proc. Squeezes in quite nicely.
Yeah, that is cool.
Oh yeah, I did see that, Yosh. The arms on the square track loops all like do pivots whenever they're not moving.
They're just having fun.
Yeah, interesting build order. I wonder if this is the last we'll save it, or if it's just like a height-specific idea that happens to work particularly cool. It's funny, we can still call this area conscious, though, given that it's more like height conscious. I really appreciate the submission. Alright. Moving on. Before we have a look at 8th place, we have Host Solve. This is Goodbye Galaxy's attempt. 9th place. 77 hexes.
Yeah, I'm more of an RG guy.
You strike me as a strong RG player, but yeah.
So I tried to get out of my comfort zone with this puzzle. And I'm also doing the halves. Both me and Evanov did the halves. I wonder if that's a sub-main thing, to just do it the way you do it in some.
I reckon that it could be like, because you and Ebanov probably would have both started with some, and so you had halves on the brain when you approached rate, because there were like a lot of people. So yeah, I know. Yeah,
and I'm also doing a little bit of bricking, where I've got a little conveyor belt going.
That's some pretty tight bricking, actually. But yeah, I don't know. Whenever you're doing anything in a weekly or a tournament where there's 2 metrics, the way you approach one metric will influence the way you approach another metric. I'm reminded of shit like Lustrous Syrup when Rebix discovered Method and then used Method for some and came 2nd place. Or the all lubricating solvents where everyone did Method for Tarkles, and then some people just took that Tarkles method over to Cost, and it made Cost a lot easier for a lot of people. Only the one piston here, though, which I find interesting, which actually, did it need to be a piston at all? I don't think it did.
Well, yeah, if, to save an area.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. I mean, if it's a...
I won't tinker with it. I'll perish the thought. Oh, no, sorry, there are 2 pistons. My bad. I was looking at piston arm 14 that outputs.
Oh, I see.
No, that one that needs to be a piston.
Yes, that one does have to be a piston because it has to get out of the way really quick before the other half swings in.
Okay, right,
so
and then it retracts
an extra
at the
hex
end.
of track to go down. It
You're right.
Would collide.
Yeah, it retracts at the end.
Yeah.
Infinifactory vibes. Kinda another horse.
And there's your Critelli Zorflex.
that is a Critelli I respect. And it's unused. Very nice. Good work. Alright. Moving on. At 8th place, we will jump down 5 hexes to Team Still Not a Jasper. Okay, rather vertically inclined solve. Alright, so halves again. We're still seeing halves.
Still halves. No conveyor belt.
Yeah, you can see the halves method is just like, it's inviting a lot of like hexes to be swung over. Just because that's how you have to get the atoms out of the way quick enough. Because you have a lot of atoms you need to worry about, and it's a big ass shape that you triplexing together at the very end.
And you kind of necessarily need at least 2 triplexes when you're doing halves. Whereas
You
I think
do.
if you're doing the core first, you
Yeah,
can get
you-
away with just one.
you
I
just
might be
don't-
wrong about that.
Yeah, you just don't have enough time to get away with one triplex when you're doing halves, which I think is a problem. Feindeer saying, yeah, we're seeing only halves because the core solves are better.
Yeah,
I-
that makes sense.
I hate to say he's completely right, but I think that's what's happening.
But who has the best have song or song solve?
Good question. Alright, the notes read, this was almost entirely my correspondence work, aside from the area equivalent of proofreading. Alchemist Kazian reporting for Alchemist Jasper.
Just 2 pistons.
Yeah, again, low amount of pistons. You think for like stuff like RA and C. Whoops. What did the
Yeah,
fuck?
RA seems like that's the piston method. What happened?
What did I do?
You broke it.
I I meant to hit P to like get rid of P, and my finger slipped to O, and like it did it again.
Oh.
Yeah, weird. That's the overlapping thing that I had for I just have it on because it means I can just like put shit on top of other shit, which can be helpful for like visual demonstrations.
You don't have to do that for overlap, performing overlap though. But, it's a separate setting, I imagine.
I can just turn it off, but I don't know. Sometimes it's helpful, and as long as I don't accidentally fat finger the O key, it's fine. But anyway, these halves method swings are getting less extreme. This is definitely the best one so far. Next up, and I could see in real time her confidence shattering in the Twitch chat. It is next up, Team 42 at 71.
The speed RA solve.
Oh, we got not one, but 2 big triangles. Love to see it.
It's another like Africa solve.
Almost, yeah. Ah, yes, the notes read, one good big triangle deserves another. Excellent shout. I did this in the last couple hours. I built the final steps first, using an extra 6 atom input to test my geometry, and then did my best to make the rest work. Lots of dodging, not a lot of me being happy with the result. I expect it gets about 10 hexes lower. So 61 is the mark to beat.
We'll see how that holds up.
We will. Okay, so alright, well, wrong key. So if we slow this down a bit, it is core first. This is our first genuine core first min rate solve. Core happens.
Arm 4 is busy. Arm 4 does all the projecting, which is kind of cool.
Having one arm handle both, yeah, all the projecting is cool. Yeah, and it has to be piston because of this particular cycle where, yeah.
That's my sun brain does that too. It's like, can I make that on a track?
It's a Pavlovian response.
Yeah.
So yeah, core first, and it'll stick all 4 of the coppers on, and you get this like a shape. The only puzzle I can think of that has that shape is Greek Fire from the workshop. It's got this like Greek Fire ass shape happening, and then it will just kind of do all the prongs at the end. Kind of prepares one of the salts, and the other is just like, because the fire's right near this bonding station, this one doesn't need to be prepared. This one does. and then it projects and handles Quicksilver. It handles this Quicksilver needs to be prepared. Again, this one doesn't, and then both projections are pretty convenient. So that's the DNA of this solve. Passing copper through the big triangle is fun. Oh, copper does go through the big triangle. Good shout. It's at the very bottom here.
Oh, that's cool. Even though it's only one area better than the previous half solve, I feel like this just makes it look much more convenient to do core first, or much more area saving to do core first.
Yeah, it's
like
fine.
I can see why
This solve
that's going to be the winning method.
This solve looks a solid 5 or 6 hexes smaller than the last one, and it's just only 1 hex smaller. Yeah, the one that actually goes through the big triangle here, it goes on a bit of a journey just to... One of them gets bonded here at the other end of the triangle. The other has to go all the way up to the multi-bonder. The multi-bond is used pretty well here, actually, because it does get that copper on, and will also get this fire on, which will become salt. It's a good shout with the multi-bonder. The problem here is that it has like 5 arms more than the previous one, and lots of track. Yeah, that's fair. It's not safe to get out of the car, some mains. We're in RA territory. Oh no. Okay. Moving on to 6th place. I can confirm 69 area was achieved. You may all laugh.
Excellent.
Yo.
Zoom right in for this one. Nice shape for my screen. And because
Why does this look so much smaller? Like
because
it looks tiny compared to Biggie's, but it's only 2 smaller.
Whoa, there are a fair amount of tight swings happening here. Alright. It's not at that point. Tight swing there between arm 2 and 17 with the silver and salt. And then very tight swing there to get the silver onto triplex, the triplex bonded fires. This kind of bottom half here kind of snaps together. All that's needed is the salt. And very tight swing here to get the X kind of in the right orientation. At which point arm 7 can just move along its track, and the next one barely doesn't collide.
Oof.
Lots of tight swings happening there.
Yeah, those are some close shaves.
Yeah, wow. We got 5 solves after this too. The notes real quickly read, mostly RPO with Mr. Puzzle finding some gold savings. So this is mostly an RPO effort. I told you, don't sleep on RPO.
Obviously, this is the best area. There's only tertiary shapes from here, right?
Yeah, this is min, actually. I wonder if it was viable to add hex arm, change arms to piston arms until you hit 690G. That would have been very epic.
Maybe we should be going the other direction, saving more so it's 420G.
Oh, that's also a possibility. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to figure out this complicated core shenanigans and still be quite close in area count. Yeah, I think we've I don't know, but I think we've seen the last halves, and that was the 72. So the fact that you guys nearly got to the start of the core solves anyway, because yeah, this looks like tight geometry, and there's a There's a lot of shit you
It's
need
crazy to think that 3 more hexes of area, and you're at a half sol.
Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah. It's only 3 hexes away from this tight-ass stuff.
Yeah.
It really was like that horsey drawing. So interesting, even though it's core first, we still have 2 different triplex bonders. And if we count the amount of bonders, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 normal bonders. And there are only 8 bonds to make in general. So pretty much every bond needed a new bonder, except for 1. And that's bottom right corner here is the only multi-use bonder. Every other bonder gets used exactly once. They do nestle in pretty nicely though, so yeah. Just something to watch out for because, you know, the area count is going to continue to drop as much as we are all disappointed by that fact. Halves have so much glyph and armor use for free. Yeah, that's definitely the best part about halves. I'm glad it, I wonder what kind of bonder efficiency we'll see in the future. So do I.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how few bonders can you get.
Rubik's asking, I wonder which solve has the high... Ruby's asking, I wonder which solve has the highest cycle count before the first output is dropped. We did mention it briefly earlier, but with RA, you're a bit more cycle conscious than, for example, RG, where it's just cost, and you can take as long as you like. Because one of the best ways to reduce your area count in RA is to simply output quicker, because it means you got less atoms on the board. So, I don't...
So it's probably 7T Storm or Cuckoo 52.
In fact, it's probably Cuckoo 52.
yeah, that's almost certainly.
So yeah, I wouldn't expect the cycle count to go up or down too much from here, to be honest. Moving on, top 5. We drop down 1 more hex to 68 hexes with Team Sai Jondras. Titled First Rate Solve. I know this isn't John's first go around with the rate metric in general, so I think that's mostly in reference to, like, they only had 1 crack at this particular rate puzzle. I think
Tri-bonder.
John came 2nd place in Stab Gold Trig last year, which was a very, very good placement. So, yeah, I think John knows their way around a rate solve here. So, core first, but yeah. Kind of interesting. It does
It's not a full core. They do the last triplex bond after.
Way at the end.
It's kind of a hybrid solve.
Yeah, it is a hybrid solve.
Not really, but I could call it that.
It is a bit unfortunate that they don't get to make that last triplex bond. It's because they don't actually get to start making triplex until this point after because the second fight that gets pulled is dedicated to Salt because it needs to go on a bit of a fucking journey. And cool rotate here by Arm 6 to reuse the multi-bonder here nicely. So there's a bit of bonder efficiency here with this particular rotate.
The multi-bonder's getting a lot of action. Like every arm is just being used very well. 4
different bonds with that multi-bonder. I think that's well justified as a multi-bonder. Yeah, I know. It's a really good solve with an unfortunately big swing at the end, really. Which kind of makes it bear resemblance to some of the half solves. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that you can kind of see a potential here. for some secondary drops to come.
For sure.
I had this multi-bonder in a 72. This does it better. Good multi-bonder. Multi-bonder of the week, dare I say. Actually, no, the winning sum solve was multi-bonder of the week.
Yeah, Kazian's is
That was...
multi-bonder of the
Yeah,
week.
I stand corrected. Okay, so if we slow it down a bit, so the first and third fire hexes go to the core. Second and fourth assault. One of them has to go on a journey. The other kind of doesn't. The other's just kind of easy. Yeah, I know metal's handled pretty conveniently here. It's just if it needs to proc, it'll just translate over to the projection glyph, of which there is only one. I guess the only thing is that like the silvers do get bonded onto different ways, whereas if it's just copper, then both the copper and quicksilver just get immediately swung over to a bonder, and they both get handled in. One of them is like done immediately at the start, so it can just kind of sit over here and wait for the core to be ready. Very good shout, though. Moving on, we will stay at 68 area. In fact, we'll move down from 585G to 425G with Calyuresis.
5 gold off perfection.
We were this close to greatness. Actually, that Critelli, that's a sick Critelli.
Sometimes you have to put
You know
Critelli
what
in
this
the
solve
hole.
should do?
Sometimes you have to.
The solve should sacrifice an area to save a track. That's
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, 3
one
triplex
piston here.
bonders, if you don't mind. Oh
This is
yeah, it's a
really
half
cheap.
solve.
Hey, there you go.
There we go. Oh, I was wrong. We were not done with halves. Halves made it as good as 4th place. Yeah, you get some chunky swings, but like it's mostly over the 3 triplex glyphs and the output. I do find it funny that this solve can afford to have 3 different triplex glyphs.
Biggie Mac has optimized for memes.
Nice, nice, nice. Putting arm 1 on 3 track, arm 1 being the piston, where the 3rd track is under the short arm to its right. Ah, okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, that would optimize for memes. This is good shit post tech, by the way. Okay, so I don't know. This is really simply done here. Because we're back to halves, except none of this like horsey drawing stuff. It's kind of, I don't know, it feels pretty comfortable with the way it handles all 3 different inputs. Kind of copper just kind of goes onto 2 different places of the multi-bonder, one of which will bond immediately to the copper and the other will proc. That's actually a pretty cool swing here. I like this after this shape, whoops. At the beginning here, after this 3 atom molecule gets made, this swing over to proc 1 and bond the other immediately, I think is a pretty cool idea, and then it just kind of translates onto the salt.
It almost seems like the shell of an RG solve, just with all these non-pistons.
Just the 1 piston.
And the fact that it's halves again. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, no, I don't know. This is one of the simpler ones. It really is. I know. It's just, I think it's just a solid order of operations. I don't know. The geometry just kind of works out neatly up until the part where you need 3 triplex bonders. Faindeer is waiting for the drop. Well, in third place, we do drop a few hexes. Down to 65, we have Bambi. Rasputin being referenced.
Nice.
Okay, 2 multi-bonders this time. Alright, so we're seeing core first here. And an extra triplex bond is made here. Interesting. And that will have to get debonded. So we do actually have a debonder in this solve. And then they will just get kind of changed back on the end. That's interesting, Tech.
Was not expecting a debonder, but that's cool as hell.
A debonder in the top 3. Okay, so seeing how the metal is handled here. We proc the silver first, and then swing the copper on over after it is bonded to the quicksilver. Yeah, no, the silvers are handled very simply here. I know, I like the way the metal is handled a lot here. I know, this like move 2 down, move 2 up motif kind of works out nicely because this bit that's way out of the way is just where your quicksilver is going to proc and disappear. So you don't really need to worry about anything moving away from this hex. And because of geometry, that would be, geometrically, that would be a pain in the ass. But it's not. And it is rather nice that you don't have to rotate the entire hex. Also, rather amusingly, this big parallelogram track loop doesn't actually need to be a track loop at all. I think Arm 14 could have just been like a diamond, and then
it's got to be a diamond.
It has to be a diamond at least, but yeah, Arm 14 just kind of gets to be in on the track loop. Pivots seem to cost area, but they make it much easier to access the leaves, which we see that with silvers here. Yeah, Kazian pointing out, Bambi did great on both metrics. So yeah, there's a couple of yeah, no, all the pivots here are, and I guess the main pivot I see here is this one where it kind of pivots onto the D bonder. But it also bonds silver on the same cycle, and that's an interesting, I don't know. I just kind of find it nice how it goes from like here with this 5-atom molecule, and just after a couple of pivots, and it's in a completely different orientation, and suddenly you get access to the other side of the core, which I think is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's slick.
Yeah, it's cool movement. Alright. With that said, though, we do have a top 2 to tangle. Alright. Coming in at 60 area. The Weekly gang, which I'm pretty sure is just Faindeer, but it's the Weekly gang. Because Remix didn't... because... We have gone below the biggie count. That is correct.
Yeah.
And Yeah, wow, 5 hexes
And
makes a lot of difference.
we probably crossed this threshold already, but these solves are now way out of my pay grade. Like, I can't tell you what's happening here.
Okay, alright, I think this is going to be a particularly good one to slow down.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, core first. We also get a similar idea to Bambi here, where, like, proc goes up and copper goes down onto a bonder. Yeah, oh wow, a lot of atoms here are taking journeys. This one's particularly hard to follow, actually.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I was looking at on Clone, and just like I can't parse this at all.
Okay, alright, let's go one silver atom at a time here. Okay, this one just kind of sits here for the time being. I think it's... And the other one... Oh yeah, so... One has to prepare itself to... Okay, so the two silvers coincidentally get bonded to salt at the same time, just in two incredibly different ways. They both go on long-ass journeys, because they both have to start, like, up here, just remember. This one has to go, like, up here, down there. Not to mention, the salt has to go on its own journey from down here to up here. And... yeah, wow, I couldn't even hope to make something like this.
And nothing collides. There's just so many near misses.
Yeah, right?
Like every swing seems like a near miss.
Yeah, so this is... Alright, so... It's Arm 8 that does most of the journey here to get this salt onto its right hex, because it'll be bonding with, I think, that one. No, that one. This one has to swing out of the way in the meantime, which probably means this copper Quicksilver also has to move out of the way pretty much at the same time. Right, and it... and while it does that, it will bond onto its other salt, and we have the final bit here. So we have all 5 different, like, you can... The product is 10 hexes, 10 atoms, and you can think of it as, like, 5 different pairs. So we have all 5 different pairs on the board right now, and none of them are bonded to each other, but they're all bonded individually. So, really clutch swing here. I don't know how the hell this was calculated. This must have been backwards first calculation, because I don't know how you managed to calculate that swing on the very next cycle, but the core just kind of does this really clutch swing, and these two kind of prongs are perfectly ready for him. And the whole thing, I think it's going to be the piston that swings it over to the second bonding station, where the other halves are ready to go, and it will output from there. While a silver kind of squeezes its way ready for the next one. Just another near miss. The piston in the center was the first arm placed.
Arm 5?
Yeah. Has to be. Boy, am I glad that he's up there and I'm down here and we're in here. And I just remembered, where's the other silver? So I guess part of what this is so difficult to, like, pass and calculate is that, I guess you can think of it as, like, there are going to be 2 different bonding stations. After the core is made, it'll have the top half kind of bonded here, in the middle, kind of just above Arm 5, and the second bonding station here surrounds Arm 4. So that's kind of what you're working towards. That's the easy bit. The hard bit is to get all your prongs ready and in the right spots, and that's where this becomes really difficult to digest, because there are like 4 different prongs and 8 different atoms that you have to worry about being in the right spot, and like the inputs are not in convenient spots to have that set up, so there's a lot of setting up to do. And you have to, I don't know, yeah, it seems kind of deliberate that a couple of these are being bonded at specific bonders. It's like it might be easy to calculate getting it onto this bonder, but it needs to be on the other bonder because of this core, this step at the end, which you're trying to aim towards. So, yeah, this is an absolute marvel.
Yeah, find your one cycles area for radio receivers.
Yeah,
if I'm
that's
not
correct.
mistaken.
Yeah, it wasn't even that close in the end, wasn't it? I think he won on area.
Fast and small seems to be his wheelhouse.
I could believe that. I like how distributed this feels. I ran into all kinds of trouble having the early inputs interfere with the late product. Biggie writes, I didn't get the full benefit of Core First because I had all of the copper bonded to it before it went on to the output. Yeah, that's a thing. I think the benefit of making yourself have to deal with all these prongs separately is that you're swinging around a bunch of, like, single atoms and 2 atom molecules. You're never swinging around a giant molecule except for the one swing. There's only one swing here, which happens, it's a 6 atom swing, but it's like, it's baked into the geometry of the solve already, so it doesn't cost you anything. You've already calculated it. Whereas, we look at some of the earlier core solves, like, for example, Biggie's. There was like a 6 atom shape bonded, which gets swung around and eats away at a few hexes, and this has none of that. You know, you should treat yourself to some bricking Biggie. Some Biggie bricking Biggie. Alright, so I did see that question posed by Kazian. How the hell did this get beaten? It got beaten by 2 hexes by Fiestaland. Oh boy, I'm gonna keep turtle mode on for this one.
Look at that track.
Yeah, wow, that is a long track. Okay.
Only 2 equilibrium, so
Only
the
2?
hexes are used.
3, but...
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right.
So we've got 5 bonders here. So, I guess another subtle point of what this and Feigned is solved dead is that because of the annoying way this bonds everything together, you are actually saving bonders by doing this without, like, at no extra cost to your area. You're just, like, saving bonders for free by doing the hard thing of dealing with all these single atoms. And there is some really cool movement here. I'm looking at the core at the bottom to see how it gets bonded. Translates kind of nicely down there. Translated up. That bonder will get reused as the kind of silver gets latched on. Meanwhile, this also gets... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like there's not the, like, clutch swing aspect of the previous solve.
Yeah, this kind of...
Everything just seems to fit in nicely here.
It's less clutch swing and more like... There's some pretty clutch bonder reuse here. This bonder here nestled next to the... In between the long-ass track and the output. It also gets used twice in a very nice translational matter.
Yeah, that's where all these weird track shapes are coming in handy, just for some smooth translation action.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We don't really have any, like, pivots of the week here, or rotates of the week. Well, we had some pretty sick rotates, but, yeah, no real pivots of the week here, because, like, yeah, translational movement and, like, 1 or 2 key swings seems to be the game. Is this also CA? I'm gonna say no.
Probably not.
Yeah, I think Biggie says it goes down a couple more cycles.
I didn't see a lot of showcases, so I don't think we did get a 51.
No, there's like a handful of showcases, and 51. What would that mean? That would mean.
I think you have to do an action and a bond on the last output.
So I think L equals 2. And what's N? N is 4 times 6, 24. So 48, 49, 50, 51. Yeah, okay. Yeah, min's 51. Unless I miscounted something. Because min cycles would mean you have to bond the copper. The final copper needs to stay as a copper. It needs to bond twice. The Quicksilver is pretty easy because it just goes with that last copper. But then your fire has to bond onto a silver, and then somewhere
Turn into salt.
Yeah, and then turn to salt either directly before or directly after, and you kind of all need to do that in the same 1 or 2 cycles. That would be a bit of a pain in the ass. Alright, I'm going to speed this up a bit. Yeah, I don't know, yeah, because this first silver here kind of goes on a bit of a journey here, but it's not like a painful journey. It just like, one arm just does a fat swing, and arm 12 just kind of takes it from there. Similar with the other kind of silver and the other copper here, because this other copper has to go on an even longer journey. Wait, where is it? Alright, so yeah, it gets bonded first. It happens way at the start here, so, like, because it happens way at the start, and this arm 11 comes in with this pretty cool fat swing here, and it just kind of nestles it in exactly where it needs to be. Let's have a look at the notes here. Our first approach to rate built the product in 2 halves. The process for that was straightforward, but had 2 weaknesses. First, it forced most of the machine into period 4, which heavily constrained the number of manipulations each arm could do, and thereby constrained the use of space. Second, doing the triplex bonds at the end involved rotating or pivoting the whole molecule, which was quite area costly. The best we got with this strategy was 88 area. By contrast, doing triplex first was never larger than 82 area, clearly better. Our opening bid optimized down to 74, and the first version of our redesign was 64. A few tweaks more yielded the machine you see here. In our view, the main challenge was swapping sides with 1 salt and 2 metals without crashing into the growing product. You can see here that the first copper quicksilver component needs to wait a few cycles before it can be swung into position, reducing free latency and constraining input positions. Yeah, very clever use of big swings to kind of close distances quickly without chewing through too many cycles so that you can have everything ready in time. So there's a lot of really cool getting shit in the right place at the right cycle.
It's hypnotic.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to digest, but it's all very neat and orderly. Man, these RA solves are like...
RA is wizard. It's a wizard metric.
For me, a lowly some TI main, this is this is pretty magical to me.
We can just sit here and be like, wow, that's really cool. I wonder how they did that.
Well, yeah, getting that right there at that time seems like it was hard. I'm sure they figured it out somehow, because I sure can't. One last thing. All right, so they pull both of the core out first. So the core, all right. So an important part actually is that some of the other solves had like one core atom pulled out, and then like one of the others would go to salt early because it needed to go on a long ass journey. Here, both core atoms are done first, so triplex is ready early. This is an important thing because it bonds on 4 different cycles. It's very gradual about how it bonds everything together. And it can only afford to do that because it got itself ready first, which puts a constraint on your salt and where the salt goes. But this handles that problem quite awesomely with a couple of really key swings. First one here, arm 3, swings it right up, palms it off to arm 6, which will do a second swing. At the same time, arm 17 swings the silver down. That's a really cool close call. And then from there, it gets this. It's really lucky that it gets to calcify right there because there is no other spot to calcify it. And the other one is easy because it doesn't have to do much movement, so that one's fine. But yeah, this like steadily paced construction is a really impressive feat. Okay. I think that means it's time for the puzzle reveal.
Yo, puzzle reveal.
Alright. Good to hear you standing by, Bist. Let me just download the puzzle.
I have it ready.
Alright.
Ready to reveal. Tell me when you are.
I will tell you when I'm ready. Okay.
Ready?
Alright, I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1, go. The puzzle is quintessential explosive. You gotta have one puzzle with the name quintessential in it, I reckon. I don't know.
Oh, wait, I didn't change the puzzle link name. Let me change that.
What does that mean?
Nothing, really.
Alright.
Let me check how the other ones were. So it just means that the link is just random letters.
Good enough. Oh wait, shit. No! The calcifier.
There we go, I changed the link.
Calcifer goes under the quint glyph.
Oh, okay, good. That's actually not too bad. There we go. Okay. Our metrics for this bad boy are height cycles. We're doing height again. And the other is tracks plus instructions. It's been a long time coming.
There we go.
It's been a long
Tracks are
I was wondering why
allowed.
there wasn't trackless instructions.
Yep, yeah, we only had to wait till week 10, but we do finally have a tracks plus instructions metric.
Mostly because we've had, quite a bit of TI puzzles lately.
That is true, yeah. Before this year's weeklies, we've been doing TI a lot, I think. So
Yeah.
There was like a honeymoon phase when TI was
it was
a
like
hot new thing.
it was like the
Yeah.
big new metric. Everyone's like really excited to do it all the time, and we're kind of past that. So bit of a lull. We're back to TI. It's kind of established itself now as one of the metrics. This is a guest submission again. This one was submitted to us by Redstone Paradox. Submitted to us a while ago. We did a lot of umming and ahhing about the metrics. But here we are. I do hope you enjoy the puzzle. I'll let you stare at it
Which
for a
of
bit.
the bonds? It's hard for me to see them. Which of the bonds have triplex? Is it just the fires and then the fire To the quint.
Yeah, the fires and the fire quint. Yeah.
Cool.
This would be gnarly for 8. This would be gnarly for 8.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh no.
Yeah, yuck. Damn.
Maybe we should have dropped that on your damn. That would have been fun.
Fun.
Quote unquote fun.
It's like the word fun's being stretched a little, I think. I hope you all liked weeks 1 and 7 of the 20. Good shout.
You know my idea of fun.
For feng shui, rotate quint counterclockwise, move Caos down 1. Oh. I guess. Yeah, that works. Oh, no, like that. Like that. That, yep, okay. We're in. We got it. Alright. Actually, let me leave it on that for a bit while I get the showcase path already.
Yeah. And that's my job done. I'll be huffing off and perhaps taking a nap now.
Enjoy best.
Thank you for being around in case something went to shit. I genuinely really appreciate it.
I just sort of stuck around till puzzle reveal. Anyways, I'll be hopping off. See y'all. Thank you for having
See ya.
me.
See ya.
Bye.
Alright. Let's have a look at the showcases real quick. Wait, do we have
I
Bello?
think it's mostly speed solves.
It's mostly... Wait, did I forget to add a Bello? No, I didn't. Have fun with that. Very dismissive way of saying it, but no, there is no Bello. Alright, most of them... Alright, so one of them's a speed solve, which is Biggie. We'll get that... We'll just do that one first. Looking at the submission list, yeah, this is the winning speed solve. So, another simple breakdown of the puzzle. Bond first, get all the prongs on. Oh right, yeah, right. This is the old version of the puzzle. Oopsie doodles. Yeah, so we kind of screwed up when we initially uploaded this puzzle.
Right.
It was the version without salt on the end, so this is that. So this is the winning speed solve. This was Biggie solved this before we were able to get in on the new one. Let me see if I can boot up the actual winning speed solve. Here we are. Okay, so we're at this point once again. We've gotten four quicksilvers on. Wait, shit, we need to debond a couple of them. All right, let's just proc them. All right, cool. Now we need salt. We have salt. There we go.
That's great.
Right, it kind of reminds me of when username Void tried to speed solve eye drops of irritation and tried to like just bond everything together at the start and try to do like a duplication glyph minefield and then realized, wait, shit, you can't do that halfway through and then had to like debond stuff frantically at the last second.
It's like fixing chirality on the fly.
Yeah, right, pretty much. It is kind of nice that the debonded Quicksilver can just be...
Yeah, you can use
procs.
it.
Yeah.
It's not useless.
Yeah, and you just get rid of it. Oh, good, I don't have to think about it anymore. Have you ever tried speed solving Goodbye Galaxy?
I have not. Or I think I tried once, and I quickly realized, oh, this is not for me.
That's fair.
I need to take my time.
Yeah, my brain does very stupid things when I'm trying to speed solve. I'm not like,
Yeah,
I
me
can't do
too.
it like Biggie or Username Void where they just like, they can just come up with decent ideas really quick. I cannot come with a decent idea in less than like 20, 30 minutes.
I also can't not optimize, if that makes sense. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't want to do it fast. I want to do it fast and good,
Right,
which
yeah. It
not.
just, it hurts me to do it in a way that's kind of like swinging
Yeah.
around shit area, lots of track for no good reason. I get that. Okay. So most of these showcases submitted to us by 7T Storm. So we'll go through them. 7T Storm seems more interested in showcases than competing this week. So I think this is prototype 1. I think this is their first attempt at rate, I think this means. So Halves' first idea. A lot of manipulation of the halves, because you can tell she's kind of like struggling to get them right, and then in place properly, get them in the proper configuration, and then doing the triplex at the end.
It's a half P, looks like.
Oh, you're totally right. It is half P. Yeah, that's actually really cool. Nice.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we were doing sum 4, how much modification would be needed with the sum solves to make them sum 4, and if the winning. I don't think Kazian's would translate to sum 4, but it'd be interesting to see. Looks like
Oh shit. Let me just ping Bist. Sorry.
she's already asleep.
Oh, sorry, speed solvers.
Oh, she's already on it.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, that's another speed solving week ruined, but that's okay. I'm sure that'll be fixed in quick order.
Are a bitch, aren't they?
What happened? Do you know?
Yes, quadruplex bonds.
Quadruplex bonds.
Oh, there's like a full bond under the triplex.
Yeah, that can happen.
Oh, that sucks
Apparently.
because you can't visually see those.
Yeah.
Ah,
Ugh.
damn.
Alright, puzzle editor, let's do this again.
Sorry about that.
We're working very hard to fix it.
Alright. Next up, going through 7T Storm's showcases. A 69 area solve. It wasn't quite 420 cost, but another one of the prototype 3. Although it has a nice area, it wasn't as good of a rate because I think she was trying to optimize for rate. Yeah, rate. I don't know. You kind of have to just. I don't know. The way I was thinking about it was that like you just kind of force yourself to pull every 2 cycles no matter what. And I don't know, a lot of it's about dealing with the repercussions of having to pull every 2 cycles and just getting a solve out on the table first. And then from there you can think about like the processes of what exactly you're doing to go from pull every 2 cycles to output in more detail. And you can just kind of prune down inefficiencies and maybe redesign once you know what you're doing a bit more. But I know.
There you go. You're a rate man.
I refuse to believe it. But yeah, I don't know. I think people who like specialize with cycles and rate mains, I guess like Rolami, I guess, just kind of deal with that. You have to pull every 2 cycles. They can just kind of get that down. They're like comfortable with that pace a bit more, so they can, like, it's easier for them to go from have a solve to have something well optimized, because they can just kind of move on a little bit more quickly to the optimization process.
How did Biggie submit? Oh, speed solve.
Speed solve. All right. Next on 7T Storm's list of showcases is Prototype 4. Interesting number of redesigns happened here. Tried some.
What?
What's up?
One moment. That has to be all caps. Save changes. Oh wait, no. This one doesn't have the. I forgot to do the glyphs. One moment. Okay, it's duplication, triplex, and quintessence. Right, let's save that again.
Oh yeah, how you hanging in there, Goodbye Galaxy?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Nice. So we're closing in on the 3-hour mark. Sometimes I get a bit socially tired after doing these Opus Magnum streams. Alright. Final Prototype is the name of the
Okay,
next
hopefully it works. Hopefully the thing works now. Can y'all test it for me? Can y'all download the puzzle again and test it out? Thank you.
Dearest speed solvers, we call upon your aid once more.
It should be the same solve, you just kind of have to transfer your file over. Well, it's the same file name, so maybe that won't make too much of a difference. So you probably don't have to change the file name. This event is not yet accepting submissions? Say that now?
Did you list it?
Oh, you need to, no, just go back to the Weeklies page since I changed the URL as well. That's probably the issue. Hey, we made this puzzle last minute. I wasn't the one that play tested it. Haxton play tested it.
These were play tested. It was just
It was just that I made the puzzle file a separate puzzle file since we don't have an official puzzle file that has been uploaded to the chat.
Yeah, same exact thing happened with this week's puzzle. I know it's not the best on our end. We could be doing better and should be doing better, but that doesn't mean... Yeah, no, these do get play tested. It's just actually making the puzzle file that goes on the website itself is, yeah, what's causing this. Alright.
We appreciate everything you do, Weeklies team. You're doing great.
It works now, hopefully, right? Right?
Okay. Continuing on. So, this is an interesting showcase, submitted by Kazian. P3T is the name. Let me zoom out a bit.
Oh yeah, this one is cool. It's period 3.
Oh, it is period 3.
Go with it.
It's a period 3 solve. Damn.
P3 tracklist.
Period 3 tracklist.
With initializing pistons.
P3T.
Read the notes for this one.
Alright. If this is to be a serious candidate for the interstellar invisible ink, it should be possible to transmute it under highly constrained conditions. Otherwise, I doubt the stars would do so. Here, I showed that trackless period 3 is sufficient. Alchemist Kazian.
Nice.
Period 3 trackless, also no pivots.
Who needs them?
Who need... Not me. I already have to figure out pivot of the week. That's good enough for me. Okay. Before we wrap things up, I did get a solution file into my DMs by way of Madmaster. This should hopefully
I
be
think
pretty quick.
Biggie has an RG as well. Biggie, what was your G on RG? Because I have one too. But if it's worse than yours, I won't do it. Oh yeah, that's better than me. So
Alright, let me reboot the parser. Okay. Next up, we have Madmaster, who has submitted a min rate solve at min glyphs. So shades of Ebonov solve.
Nice.
Shades of Ebonov solve
cool.
here, but a lot more track loops and yeah, 450G. Okay, I've got another DM. I'll add that one while this solve plays. I don't think Biggie's is min glyphs though, for what it's worth.
It costs money to go min glyphs.
Let me also add the notes to like
Oh, to the event page.
refresh.
Sure.
Yeah, since we changed it again.
Alright. I gotta reboot the parser again real quick, but
That's interesting, Biggie, because my RG has just two bonders and one triplex. So I must just have way more arms than you.
this is Biggie's arm RG. Just the 9 arms. One of them's a hex arm. This is a trackless solve as well.
Yeah, I do. You have way fewer arms than me.
Looking at this on the one hand, it kind of makes me glad we went RA. But also
Yeah, I play tested RG and I thought for this it was a little boring. Not that this is a boring solve, just the metric in general.
because rate in this puzzle is not the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
RG kind of in turn becomes a little easier, but the big product shape kind of throws a thorn in the works for RA. So it was definitely the better shout.
And it's almost like you're just making the half. Like you're making just 12 of those.
Right, and
Rather
RG is just
than
like,
6
yeah,
of-
it's just more halves, which, like, some explores halves in a more interesting way, I think.
Yeah.
Biggie also points out, I think this was not very thinky, and Fiesta Land solution was massive brain.
Yeah, definitely.
Galaxy brain, dare I say.
There you go.
All right, I've added notes onto the quintessential explosive the page to tell you to fix your puzzle file if it happens to be malfunctioning.
Was this better than your sum solve, Biggie? God damn.
It was it? Oh no.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. What is it, 450?
No.
Yeah, 450 exactly.
Well, RG is just fast sum, I always say.
Yeah.
RG is pretty fast. Alright. Actually I'll leave it on that screen. Okay, with all that, with all the showcases and the troubleshooting, again, we apologize. We need to start building those websites earlier than 1 hour before the due time.
You know, and actually download and test them.
Yeah, and actually make sure it works. Nevertheless, thank you. The stream itself has gone wonderfully. My internet did not shit the bed. Yay!
Great job,
Oh, yes.
Australian internet.
we survived Australian internet for another week. And actually, instead of this puzzle, I'll leave it on next week's puzzle.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody who submitted a solve for my puzzle. It was great to see them all.
Yeah, I don't know. This week, I don't know. It's very consistent. The puzzles themselves have been very consistent quality.
Have they?
I don't know. I can't really think of any duds this year. I mean, people liked Die Hard. That was the only one I would have pointed out as maybe, but people really liked it, so I won't.
People like Die Hard. People really like Transtonic.
Yeah, people really like Transtonic.
I don't know about Ring Enlargement. How do they like Ring Enlargement? I don't remember.
Ring Enlargement was alright, I guess.
Yeah, it was an okay puzzle.
I really love the choose your own reagent for Transtonic. Like,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
love to see that as a future puzzle motif.
We got to return to that idea
Maybe.
next year.
We probably will next year.
That was a cool.
I mean, the infrastructure's all set up, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I mean, not entirely. We
Okay,
set it up for that puzzle specifically. So for a generic infrastructure to be set up, that's going to be a lot more difficult. Yeah, let's see. Eye drops of irritation was good. Black powder was still decent.
Area was still fun. Cycles.
Yeah.
I know people enjoyed Cycles, even though I do feel shit that we miscalculated it.
Yeah.
Viscous.
Oh, well.
People really liked viscous adhesive.
Yeah, they did.
I wasn't around for last week, or I mean not. Yeah, but people liked last week. I think.
Yeah, they did. Hex stabilized tooling s'mores was also good. Yeah, they've been consistent.
It's been a
I
good.
guess the weakest part. I guess the weakest link is ring enlargement so far.
And that's not a bad puzzle. So, I know I really liked Area for ring enlargement as much as it was kind of annoying, but the best solve was really cool.
As much as it was kind of annoying.
All right. So yeah, it'll be
Hope
this.
you'll enjoy the upcoming weeks.
Yeah. Thank you
There's
for joining.
2 more to go after this one.
So thank you for joining me on commentary. Goodbye Galaxy. It was great to have you.
Yeah, no problem. It was a lot of fun.
And I'll be back in the Zachtronics server when I'm doing voice, so you lovely people are able to contribute to voice again next week. And with that, I think I'll wrap things up. Thanks for joining.
I sadly won't be here. I'm going on vacation.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, bye everybody.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, I ran out of disk space partway through that.